Good evening, everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. Today is March 27th in the year 2019. We had a scheduled 6 p.m. start. I am silencing my phone. That's a big hint, okay? It says 6:15 p.m. At roll call, council members. Ridley.
Present.
Brinzeri.
Here.
Baggiano.
Here.
Yun.
Here.
Solomon.
Here.
Robinson.
Here.
Rivera.
Absent. He's
Are we not expecting him?
No, he won't be here.
Okay, okay, so I won't be calling his name all night. Councilperson Waterman.
Here.
Council President Lavaro.
Here.
Could we all stand and observe a moment of silence? There are no written local. Let's just pray for the speedy recovery of Dan Rivera's child and victims in New Zealand. Dorothy Council.
Mother of Belinda Council, tenant advocate from Holland Gardens. And
Stan Eason lost his dad. Out of state.
and Maria Elena Garcia, mother of Julio Garcia, executive director for PACO.
Okay, let's remain standing for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I, on behalf of the council, state for the record that we are in full compliance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, better known as the Sunshine Law, Chapter 231 of the laws of 1975, by posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall and filing in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, December 20th, 2018, the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Council for the year 2019. In addition, at the time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was disseminated on Friday, March 22nd at 4 p.m. to the Mayor, Council, and Business Administrator and to the local newspapers. So we are in full compliance with the Sunshine Law. Are there any special intentions? We have State Senator Cunningham here. I placed a handout that she gave me prior to the meeting. Are we going to invite the senator up to start us off this evening?
Yes.
President?
I'm sorry, Senator. Good evening, Senator Cunningham.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you here and grace our chambers. Thank you for joining us.
First of all, it's an honor to be before you this evening. Everyone is looking well. That's very good. I will be brief. I wanted to come and just speak to you very briefly about a piece of legislation that I think is very important. It's a piece of legislation that I am doing with Senator Ron Rice, and that is, it deals with the disenfranchisement of approximately 94,000 people. This is because we have people who are incarcerated, people who are on parole, and people who are on probation, who are not allowed to vote. When Governor Murphy was running for governor, I took a weekend and decided to follow him all around the state because I wanted to hear what he had to say about disenfranchisement of people. His exact words in one spot was, actually I followed him to Newark, Jersey City, and Irvington and East Orange, all in a 2-day period. And I listened to everything he said because I wanted to be clear about what he was saying. And I, like all of the people listening, was very excited because he talked about the fact that he didn't want to be governor of a state in which 94,000 people were disenfranchised from voting. And that is something that I strongly believe. The Constitution of the United States says that everyone has an unalienable right to vote. New Jersey in 1844 was the first state in the country that said only white men should vote. This is not 1844 any longer. It is time that we allow people to vote. Whatever they do on the outside, it has nothing to do with their right as a human being to voice their opinion and to vote. So I'm asking you if you will just take a look at the legislation and hopefully send me a letter of support if you so desire, a resolution. This is very important, and we're going to be moving forward with this very quickly. So I wanted to speak to you face to face and say thank you so much, because I know you know it's the right thing to do, and hopefully that you will support the legislation.
Senator, thank you. So,
Can I have a question?
okay.
Yeah.
Hold on, Councilman, if I may. I just want to say thank you, Senator, for coming. Thank you for presenting this legislation. Just for your information, everyone in the council has just been, we've shared the legislation with them, and have talked to the members of the council on Monday at the caucus, informing them that you were going to be here as well, and letting them know that looking to present a resolution in support of your legislation at the next council meeting. And they'll have an opportunity to review it between now and then, and hopefully we'll be able to pass that and enact that resolution in support of your legislation.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Now I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Yun.
Yes,
Okay,
Senator.
Young.
So I read that the state bill actually 8356, Senate bill is 2100, 3456, whatever they call. But I have a concern is that give the right to vote for the people who is a parole, probation, or release. But my major concern is that not only myself, some council members, the concern is that people who are serving in sentence, so another person in the jail to give the right to vote, then how are we going to do control Hudson County Board of Election provide to us that person's home address and the jail address, when you do their mail-in ballot. So how are they going to do that? And also, not only that, there are a lot of going to be issues, because as a candidate, I have to go visit the jail, knocking the shell, have to campaign.
Okay, well, first of all, it's up to you if you want to go to the jail to campaign. When someone is imprisoned now, they automatically receive a registration to vote. That's automatic. That's what they get when they come into the jail. This will not change. It will be up to the prisoner to decide to send out or mail the registration form if they to mail their ballot back out if they decide to vote. That's not going to be any other strain or stress than we already deal with now.
But
It's
I
the
mean,
same thing.
that's one thing. We give the right to a person who in the jail, but also the other hand to our side, the people who run for office. I think they have some consider, because actually county have to provide to us their jail address. I think it is more like a privacy issue. Not only that, they can be moved around the jail to jail. How going they do follow up?
Okay, as of right now, everyone that is incarcerated, their address is listed as the place where they are incarcerated. As a matter of fact, I have a gerrymandering bill that you'll be hearing about soon that will change that, and it will say if you're incarcerated in Hudson County's jail, but you live in Newark, your address is going to have to be Newark. That's not the way the law is written now. Now the law is written that if you're in Hudson County, that is your address. So they will be voting from wherever it is for now that they are living at or incarcerated.
But I mean that our side, and not only that, when we campaigning, there was an issue, because if we're going to send the mail to home address, and they're not able to go to the jail, I mean, maybe they can have a right to vote, but to our side, really we're able to provide every individual candidate able to provide the full information or policy, or we got to campaign them, listen, I'm going to improve the quality of life in the jail. I mean, sometimes,
Well, as of now, you don't provide anything to those people incarcerated now, do you?
Right. That's right.
Then you will not be doing it then.
Senator, if I may,
Yes.
so I mean, I think some of these logistical questions of like how to execute elections, and certainly they're valid and can have some conversations with that ongoingly. But to the senator's point, and I think is that this is legislation that it's a social justice issue, right? 94,000 people in the state of New Jersey disenfranchised with the right to vote, 50% of them black. That's no accident. That's been historically.
Black and Hispanic.
And
yes.
Hispanic. And so that's not an accident. It's a historical discrimination within our systems, but also the criminal justice system. And so this seeks to rectify that. And I will say you have my 100% support, Councilman.
Thank you.
Senator.
May I also just say one thing? You know, first of all, we're assuming that everyone who is incarcerated is going to want to vote. That in itself might not happen. But you know, when we look at people who are incarcerated, we have to remember that most of these people are incarcerated and they are serving their time. They should not have to spend the rest of their lives trying to rectify something that they've already paid for. These people, whatever reason they are incarcerated, one of the things that we want to do is to offer rehabilitation. We have to get away from warehousing people, but treat people with respect and dignity. If they have that, thank you. If they receive respect and dignity, it goes a long way to making sure that when they are released, they will not come back. And the right to vote is just one more thing that we, according to the Constitution, has no right to take that vote away from anyone. So we're giving it back to them. And that's all that this legislation is doing. And with giving it back to them, we're giving them a sense of what it means to be a citizen, and perhaps that will help them to be a better citizen when they are released.
I mean that the senator, with all due respect, because I'm not familiar with that, so I have to be a lot of Christians.
Just read the legislation.
Yes, when I read the legislation, I start scratching my head, because they take away voting powers, people with serving. I got no problem with you. I'm same page with that. Person, parole, release, probation, yes, they should be taken away voting powers because they're outside. But person in the jail, give them right to vote. I mean, they're going to have a lot of issues and concern, and also take away voting powers then is a part of the social punishment to them. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, maybe you're right, maybe I'm wrong, but I think I agree 100%. As I say, parole, probation, release people, yes, they should be punished for their part of it. But when the person's serving time, if you give to them, maybe they can have a right to vote and that they can able to vote, but as your people who run for office, you gotta knock in the shell, have a campaign if you want to, but
It's an inalienable right, number one, and then when you talk about like
how much
the dignity of
able to provide.
No, you might have a lot of people who would vote for you
I'm speaking with the
if they
senator.
could.
Okay.
All right. Other things I question, I'm going to contact my office, your office, get some more information. Right. Yeah.
You know, we will work out the statistics. I met with the new Commissioner of Corrections the other day. I'm very happy to say he's very, very progressive. wants to do more, wants to get away from what we do now, which is just warehouse people. Even educational programs, and I'll sit down after this. When I first became a senator, one of the things that I looked at was what kind of programs were we educating or teaching people while they're incarcerated. We were teaching men to be barbers and women to be hairdressers. Here's the problem. You can't get a license if you've been as a barber or a hairdresser if you've been incarcerated. So for years, we just treated people and gave them these skills that meant absolutely nothing. We have to start teaching people respect and dignity, and we absolutely, positively have to stop just warehousing people. Let's let them out with something more than when they went in. Thank you.
Senator?
So in other words, a murderer can vote?
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
next council meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Senator.
A murderer.
Council members, I need a motion to add Resolution 10Z28 to the agenda. That's the one that's going to authorize a closed caucus on Friday at 12:30 p.m. I have a motion to add that resolution.
Motion.
Second.
Going to give that to Mr. Robinson, and the second to Councilperson Prinzary. On the motion, Councilperson Ridley,
Aye.
Prinzary,
Aye.
Agiano,
Aye.
Yun,
Aye.
Solomon,
Aye.
Robinson, Waterman, Lavara.
Aye.
Okay. Shall I take it from the top, Council President?
Yes.
Council members, we have first reading ordinances, items 3A through 3E. Allow me to read their titles into the record. (3A) is City Ordinance 19-021, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic of the Jersey City Code, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, amending Section 332-9, stop intersections, designating Ravine Avenue and Abbott Street as a stop intersection, stopping Ravine Avenue. 3B, City Ordinance 19-022, an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, and Stopping, amending Section 332-22, Parking Prohibited at All Times of the Jersey City Code, repealing the no parking anytime prohibition on the west side of Sullivan Drive from Danforth Avenue to 50 feet south of Greco Drive, amending Section 332-4, Parking Prohibited Certain Hours, repealing the no parking school days, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the east side of Sullivan Drive, Bartholdi Avenue to Lembeck Avenue, repealing Section 332-26, no stopping or standing certain hours, repealing the no stopping or standing school days, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the east side of Sullivan Drive, Bartholdi Avenue to Lembeck Avenue, and amending Section 332-31, parking restricted for street cleaning purposes, designating no parking for street cleaning purposes on the west side of Sullivan Drive, Lembeck Avenue to Danforth Avenue. 3C, City Ordinance 19-023, is an ordinance ratifying the execution and acceptance from Park Avenue Landing, LLC, of a deed of easements for roadway purposes and the temporary construction easement, and the execution and acceptance from Liberty Harbor Holding, LLC, of a deed of temporary construction easement in connection with the construction of a new roadway connecting Jersey Avenue and Phillip Street. 3D, City Ordinance 19-024, is an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City authorizing the execution of a grant of easement agreement with Public Service Energy Electric and Gas Company to permit the installation, use, maintenance, and repair of a pole anchor on city-owned property known as Block 2304, Lot 16, near the intersection of Congress Street and New York Avenue. Finally, 3E, City Ordinance 19025, is an ordinance authorizing the City of Jersey City as tenant to renew a lease agreement with the County of Hudson for recreational fields at Lincoln Park West. For introduction, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye for introduction.
Prinzary.
Aye for introduction.
Bajiano.
Aye for introduction.
Yun.
Aye for introduction.
Solomon.
Aye.
Robinson. Waterman. Lavara.
Aye for introduction.
We have an 8-0 vote for the introduction of items 3A through 3E. Councilperson Rivera absent. When I say tonight 8-0, that will mean Councilperson Rivera absent. I won't be repeating that this evening. At least I hope I won't. Council members, we advertised in the local newspaper, the Jersey Journal, a requirement by the New Jersey DEP for a public hearing on the city's grant application to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Green Acres Land Acquisition and Park Development Program. Is there anyone who would wish to speak on this subject? Hearing none, do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion by Councilperson Prinzary,
Second.
seconded by Councilperson Bajiano.
Okay.
And this is to close the public hearing on the Green Acres Park Development Program. On the motion, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzary.
Aye.
Bajiano. Aye. Yun.
Aye.
Solomon.
Let me just take this moment to just briefly say, there'll be resolutions later in the evening on the specific applications, but there's an ongoing conversation between myself, the BA, our grants office with Melissa, and then Hamilton Park Conservancy and Hamilton Park Neighborhood Association to ensure that any final plan, and the grants can move forward today, has sort of full community buy-in before we would proceed with any actual changes to the park. And I think we'll get there working together, but I just wanted to state that for the public record and make sure that we know moving forward we're going to be working together to come up with a plan that works for everyone. So with that, I vote aye.
Councilperson Robinson.
Stepped out.
Oh, stepped out. Okay. Councilperson Waterman.
Yes.
Thank you. And President.
Aye.
Okay. We've closed the public hearing. We've conducted as statutorily required, at least offered a public hearing. The other is a public hearing on the city's grant application to the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection's Green Acres Land Acquisition and Park Development Program. Local Government Stewardship Grant Program. I read the same title twice. It's the Government Stewardship Grant Program. Is there anyone wishing to speak?
Jason Berg. How will this? I know Green Acres is a great property that be for open spots for the people. So we're having more parks or green acres being provided for the city, and the city's going to be supported by the state for the implementation of these green acre areas.
No, if we just gave Melissa an opportunity to explain what this is. It might satisfy you and anyone else who might have a question. If you would just vacate the microphone and let Melissa come up and speak.
The City of Jersey City will be filing an
Melissa,
application.
I'm only getting your back with the camera. Would you mind terribly if you came up so we got you on TV nice and...
The City of Jersey City will be filing an application to request grant funds from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Green Acres Development Program, proposing to install a recreational trail with lighting and signage at Reservoir 3 for the purpose of outdoor recreation, education, and conservation. This project cost a pre-bid total of $1,179,113.17. Of this total, the request of $884,334.88 will be made to the DEP, with the remainder of the $294,778.29 as the local share. Written support for this project has been sought and authorized by the Jersey City Planning Board, the Reservoir Alliance, and the Jersey City Parks Coalition. The City of Jersey City will be filing an application to request grant funds from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Green Acres Stewardship Program, proposing to install rain gardens at Gateway Park, located at Marcellus and Bright Streets, and Hamilton Park, Pavonia Avenue, and West Hamilton Place, for the purpose of reducing localized flooding and to reduce stress on the combined sewer system. This project will cost a pre-bid total of $125,319. Of this total, the request of $93,989.90 will be made to the DEP, with the remainder of the $31,329.96 as the local share. Written support for this project has been sought and authorized by the Jersey City Planning Board, Friends of Gateway Park, the Jersey City Parks Coalition, the Hamilton Park Neighborhood Association, and the Hamilton Park Conservancy.
Can I just ask you something?
Yep.
Reservoir 3 is beautiful. It's our central park. We have a trail going around it now. How wide of a trail? You know, there's a lot of wild animals, small animals in that reservoir. If they go in there and they do a lot of clearing out and everything, they're going to destroy a lot of the wildlife. So how big of a trail do they expect to do? Do you know?
The trail will not extend beyond the boundaries of the natural pathway that exists already. The only construction of a trail will be created where the rocks are along where the kayaks go on both sides. Yeah. And on the entrance on across from Pershing Field. So the trail won't be widened at all. It will just be formalized with lighting and signage. And then the trail will be constructed where there is no current trail.
Melissa, before you, since we met on Monday for the caucus, with regard to Gateway Park, has there been any subsequent conversations with MUA or JCRA regarding kind of their plans to set up a fund for any buy-ups and upzoning for the Bates Avenue redevelopment plan, which would be dedicated towards, or portions of that money being dedicated to the improvements at Gateway Park?
Our plan doesn't, this plan for rain gardens doesn't impact the entirety of the park, and any additional funds will be well used for that park.
Say again?
Any additional funds will be well used for that park, but this proposal doesn't impact the entirety of the park.
And my question is, has there been, since we met Monday, have you had any conversations with JCRA or MUA about, or anyone, I guess, from the administration, about their plans to do, to establish a fund and create the fund to finance improvements for that park?
Architecture has been in contact with the JCRA and the JCMUA.
Architecture. So Brian Weller has been in touch with them about this. So my request to the administration is that you guys, I mean, I don't know what the status is, as I said at the caucus meeting, and I'm not sure where that whole fund stands, but if there's going to be a fund to fund those improvements, certainly this additional funding, but maybe looking at reallocating these dollars potentially if we should receive the grant for other purposes, if there's already funding that potentially could cover these sort of improvements.
Okay.
Okay.
Another question. Does the city still pay for a third party to do its grants writing?
Yes.
If
And how much
grant
is-
writers, yes.
Yes. And how much do we spend per year for that?
What's that? It's not related to this.
I'm just saying that you write the grants, and grants are written by a third party. Just want to know how much the city spent in its budget.
I don't know. We'd
Yes,
have to
during your
look
5
at-
minutes. It has nothing to do with the public hearing.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the information. God bless.
Thank you. It's a public hearing. Any members of the public wishing to be heard?
With regard to this local government stewardship grant program.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion by the President, seconded by Councilperson Prince Airy. This is to close the public hearing on the government stewardship grant program. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzeri.
Aye.
Bajano.
Aye.
Yun.
Aye.
Solomon.
Aye.
Robinson.
Aye.
Waterman.
Aye.
Lavara.
Aye.
So, close the public hearing 8-0. So we've done our statutorily required business. On to second reading ordinances. Only 3 this evening, council members. 4A is an ordinance expanding the boundaries of the Exchange Place Special Improvement District to include the entirety of Paulus Hook Park. Before we have public testimony, the boundaries of the SID only had one of the 4 corners, and SID is adopting into the boundaries the other 3 corners of the park, and that will become part of the Special Improvement District.
Yvonne Bolser. I'm aware of that, Mr. Byrne. I remember that happened. But I do want to say that
You're not the only one here, Mrs. Balser.
Okay.
That's why I made
Thank
that
you.
statement.
this council gave a resolution to Sam Pessin for something that you are doing here, which is turning Paulus Park into a commercial enterprise, which is really, to me, it's hypocrisy. Owen Grundy, I was thinking of, of some of the people that really fought for the park for years. If that park, by the way, had Green Acre funds, you wouldn't be able to touch it.
Yvonne, can I, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you. You can feel free to talk afterward. Just to be clear, so the intention of this change, there's no intention at all to remove any green space in those 4 corners. The Exchange Place SID is going to put a certain amount of money into revitalization and improvement in the park, including putting in a playground where the PS16 blacktop is, and they can't spend the money unless the park is within their boundaries. So it's simply a way to facilitate the SID putting money into the 4 corners with no changes to the green space.
And I can also see them having kiosks there selling things to commercial enterprise. I mean, the idea of having a SID is to make money. We have Green Acre money, which we discussed, a moment ago, that could go in here. The reason why you had that blacktop there is because that land was transferred over in the 1970s to the school so they can have a building there, which they used for probably 20 years. It is a park. I do not trust the SID. It is a commercial enterprise. They're there to make money. Fine. That's great. But you're making money on top of public land, and that should not be. Absolutely. They may say one thing, but once it's under their control, it's under their control. It is a public space. It will be under their control. I just think it is wrong to transfer public publicly.
They're going to make improvements. The city is still going to be required to maintain them. It's actually, believe it or not, an act of charity for the city to add these 3 corners. It's not.
I disagree.
You
I
usually
disagree.
do,
I actually
so
disagree. I mean,
continue.
it's the reason why you gave Sam Peston a resolution just to make sure Liberty State Park will be not under control of a commercial enterprise. It is a we have the manpower to do this. I mean, those 4 corners, I know them very well. They're very small. It doesn't take a lot of money under the city's largest of $600,000 of our budget to maintain those 4 corners.
600 million.
Excuse me, you're right. $600 million. That we can't maintain those 4 corners of that park. And I just totally disagree. They have an agenda, and I think they should be able to make money. But I don't think parks should be part of it.
Just to let her conclude.
Yeah, but,
No, there's something here that I want to say. The SID had an awful lot to say about what went on in Exchange Place with the Polish Monument, with the Irish Festival, with the Caribbean Festival. And I don't want to see them expanding. In fact, I think they should be dissolved because what they did and caused the problems for over, 3 or 4 months with the statue down there and the elimination of certain festivals because they didn't want people down there, I think is a disgrace.
Honestly, truthfully, one of those little corners is probably the size of this right here. I mean, it's a very small corner. So if the city cannot support something that small and they got to turn it over to a commercial enterprise, it smells. I'm sorry, it's wrong. And I'm thinking of all the people for the years who fought for that park in Paulus Hook, and I think it's wrong. They should, maybe once a year they can have something done here from the SID. It's a public park. It should be controlled by the city. That's it. Not by some commercial enterprise who wants to make money.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to be heard?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Council President Lavaro, seconded by Councilperson Prinzary, to close the public hearing. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzary.
Aye.
Bagiano.
Aye.
Yun.
Aye.
Solomon.
Aye.
Robinson. Aye. Waterman.
Aye.
President.
Aye.
We have an 8-0 vote for the close of the public hearing. For final adoption of City Ordinance 19-017, Item 4A, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzary.
Aye.
Bagiano.
As I said, after the fiasco at Exchange Place, I don't think they should have any further expansion at all. No.
Yun.
Well, first things, the S side is not commercial. It's more like a non-profit organization, 501c4 or 3. And also there, we just only give the authorization to maintain and implement the park. Still, their park as a city park under the Jersey City jurisdiction. If they want to do any event, they have to get the permit from the city of Jersey City. But my major concern is that the way Councilman Richie Bojano say, some event used to be held at the exchange place, but then not now, maybe they're not able to hold the event exchange place because of that exchange side against the certain event, then I have a concern. So we gotta make sure that exchange place still belong to city of Jersey City, and under the culture fair, they are the one bring up the event where they're gonna supposed to go with event committee. So I'm gonna look into their matters, but that's what they say, because some committee, they no longer interested to have exchange place, that's why they moved other place. But if not the case, because exchange aside, then we have a serious problem. Still they belong to city of Jersey City. Long story make short, I'm going to go for aye because we're going to spend the $600 million of budget this year. If they're willing to provide improvement to service and maintenance in the park without taxpayer dollars, let them do it. So I'm going to vote for aye. It is Grace.
Councilperson Solomon?
Just briefly, there's an ongoing conversation with the CID and the Historic Policy Association about the improvements. There are plans that are being worked on with the community, not just designed, by the CID or anyone else. So, we want to see improvements to that open space. There's going to continue to be more conversation on it, but this is a step to do that. So I vote aye.
That's not down there. I'm going to close.
Councilperson Robinson?
Aye.
Yeah.
Councilperson Waterman?
Aye.
What's that guy's name?
President?
So I have a few questions for the administration. This ongoing question or issue with regard to whether or not there was denial of festivals, certain festivals from being at Exchange Place and so forth around that. It keeps coming up, and frankly, I haven't invested kind of the time to kind of look into this. But can from the BA to the Law Department just inform me whether or not have we abdicated our legal control of these public spaces in any way? I just
no,
if you're
no.
aware of, if not, if you need time to.
I vaguely remember this discussion. I can't remember when, and it was around, I think, a specific event, and I can't remember what was determined had happened there, but we still have the same permitting process through Cultural Affairs, and it's still under our control. There was, at one point, some construction going on there that meant some event couldn't do what they wanted to do. I can't remember the details of it, but I can get you more information.
Ryan, they didn't want it down there. I mean, let's tell it like it is. Come on.
Okay.
And
Well,
all I know is the Irish Festival had better be down there this year. I spoke to Maureen yesterday.
Okay.
And the people want it down there.
They can certainly apply to have it down there. I'll send more information to the entire council, whatever I can get on this.
Yeah, if we could just get some information about who has the official authority there to, I think it's still us, but I just want to validate that, and we can verify that, to make sure that the city is has the authority to do that, and that it's not being usurped by the Exchange Place Alliance. I would appreciate that. And then maybe we could take a closer look at the laws around that to make sure that those are strong and adequate protections for us and the public. I vote aye.
We have a 7-1 vote for the final adoption of item 4A, City Ordinance 19017. Councilman Baggiano voting no. On to item 4B. 4B is City Ordinance 19018. It's an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 2, Traffic Regulations, Section 332-9, Stop Intersections of the Jersey City Code, designating Oakland Avenue and Jefferson Avenue as a multi-way stop intersection. Are there any members of the public wishing to be heard?
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilperson Waterman, seconded by Councilperson Prinzeri. To close the public hearing, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzeri.
Aye.
Baggiano.
Aye.
Yun.
Aye.
Solomon.
Aye.
Robinson. Aye. Waterman.
Aye.
President.
Aye.
We have an 8-0 vote to close the public hearing for final adoption. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzeri.
Aye.
Baggiano.
Aye.
Yun.
And the Councilman Richard was waiting for a long time, so I'm going to vote for aye, as his favor. Councilman.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Your vote, sir?
Yeah, I will, aye.
Solomon?
Aye.
Robinson? Waterman?
Aye.
President?
Aye.
We have an 8-0 vote for the final adoption of item 4B, City Ordinance 19-018. Item 4C.
Council President?
Yes.
Before we go 4C, I think you bring up the very important issue about the exchange place, that's, the event. I'd like to ask the business administrator, Brian Platt. Brian, do me a favor. Can you provide, before exchange site established, before, after, how many events actually that hold at the exchange place? After exchange site, how many events now? Not only that, we'd like to have all councilpersons like that. Whoever all that hold at the event before SID exchange place, their contact person, name and phone number, email. So we're going to make sure some our own research. We got to make sure that they're not out of control. Okay?
Sure. So to clarify, okay, yeah. Well, I'll send. Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's an off the.
Okay.
So, 4C, City Ordinance 19-019, an ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City adopting amendments to the Adaptive Reuse District and the Residential District of the Garfield Redevelopment Plan. This is a public hearing on the ordinance. Are there any members of the public wishing to be heard?
Jason Berg. Clarification on the adaptive reuse and district of residential district. What is the mission of this changing of the amendments?
What was the question?
The amendments to this, how will it improve the Garfield Avenue redevelopment plan, and where is the boundaries of the redevelopment plan for the?
Okay, we're gonna let you come back. I'm gonna let Chuck Harrington just give some background and context, and then you can ask
so much.
all your questions. Okay? Hopefully, it answers everything for you.
Okay, yes, thank you, Council President. Charles Harrington. For the record, the adaptive reuse, the Garfield Avenue redevelopment plan is located on Garfield Avenue near the entrance to the Turnpike. As you go down there's an auto sales business on the east side of Garfield Avenue, and then on the west side is 15 Wilkinson Avenue. It's a large existing warehouse building. That is the adaptive reuse district as part of this plan. And on the other side of the street, where the auto sales is, that's the residential district. So what this is proposing to do is for the adaptive reuse, both of these amendments essentially are codifying that the existing uses on these properties can continue and be improved. For example, the auto sales in the residential district, we're not permitted to improve it without this being done, because then it's a non-conforming use, so you're not allowed to do that. So this allows the existing owner to make improvements while they operate the business. If they cease to operate the business, that use goes away. So it's really a benefit for that, so he can make improvements. And on the 15 Wilkinson building, this adds, again, it codifies what's being done there now. There's kind of turning into some eclectic uses. It's a grand building. There's a lot of space where we have, like a carpenter came in there. He wanted to use that for his business, and this allows such a use, because otherwise you wouldn't be permitted to do it, because it would be a non-conforming use. So this really allows this building use to evolve. into full-time use.
But, Council President,
Yes.
why he have to be answered? Why Planning Department did not answer? Because he just represents a private company. What happened to our Planning Department to represent who people work the city of Jersey? Why they not answer to us?
Well, they were at the caucus, but I mean,
It doesn't matter, but if a question is raised by public, then city of Jersey should be responsible. Because even though he say anything wrong, we cannot bring accountability to him. But if a city officer bring up the explain to us, we can bring accountability to the city officer. Brian, he represents one of the company in that area. I mean, we change zoning ordinance variance because of one certain, private company. We, because of change zoning, the majority public benefit. Then city planning department should come and answer to the public. I think that's not fair to us. Not only to us, to the public. Maybe you understand more than city employee, but still.
It's the amendments were petitioned on behalf of my clients. That's why I know a lot about
Yes,
it.
when you present those things at the planning board, understandable. But city council, we talk ordinance, then city officers should be answered to the public and the city council. Did I say wrong? I don't think so. But anyhow, I think I hope it's not happen again. I think we should be correct that part of it, okay? Thank you for your explanation.
thank you. Okay, this is a public hearing. Any members of the public wishing to be heard?
Byrne?
This is the benefit of Ward F on Garfield Avenue between the turnpike and the dirty area where some residents live, that we need to fix up this building because it's an eyesore. In order to do that, you have to come to the council. It went with the planning board. Then you bring it to the Jersey City Council. This building is over 100 years old, and all they want to do is to come here is to make it look better in our community, because it's an eyesore right now, and it's right near the exit of the turnpike on Bayview Avenue. And on the other side of the street is nothing but a bunch of car lots that have been there for the past 80 years. Thank you.
Public hearing
Second.
by Councilman Robinson, seconded by the President. Close the public hearing. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzary.
Aye.
Bajano.
Aye.
Yun.
Aye.
Solomon.
Aye.
Robinson. Waterman.
Aye.
President.
Brian,
I'm going to recall him. Go ahead and call him.
so the councilman essentially made a request.
Close.
right?
This is to close.
Oh,
Your vote to close?
aye.
All right, we've closed the public hearing. For final adoption, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzary.
Aye.
Bajano.
Aye.
Yun.
I'm going to vote for aye, but I hope this thing's not happen again, because the attorney represented petition by J.N. Garfield LLC. When we create any ordinance, we have to hear from the city of Jersey City to benefit the people of Jersey City, not represent a certain private company to amend ordinance to maximize their benefit itself. So I like to next time, any amendment, because of those kind of things, especially redeveloped area, I like the city planning department show up, explain to us, and explain to the public. Based on that, I hope nothing's happen again, and I'm going to vote for aye.
Solomon. Aye. Robinson. Aye. Waterman.
Aye. Council President, go ahead.
President.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So Brian, and to the law department as well. So to Councilman Yun's point, so I think it's important to kind of clarify something, which is these ordinances that seek to amend redevelopment plans, or really anything that you put forward, is put forward by the administration, right? So it's incumbent upon the administration. I mean, the council votes on it, and we ask questions in caucus, but we do have a public hearing here. And for the public's benefit, in order to be able to get questions answered as well with regard to that, but we may not be prepared to answer directly, right? So the Councilman Yun's point, having someone here to be able to answer that. I will say, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but previously, oftentimes the business administrator and the corporation counsel attorneys were very well adept at kind of responding to the different ordinances, and they were very familiar with kind of the intricacies of each ordinance. Don't take that the wrong way, but it depends. You have different styles for different folks.
I mean, are you saying that we don't respond to questions that you ask right now? I'm not sure where this is going. But, I guess we can have planning members here when we have redevelopment plan changes. We had 2 caucuses with this. There have been plenty of opportunities to discuss, but we will make ourselves as available as possible.
I think so. I think the issue then is, because this is a question from the public that wasn't raised during caucus, right? So the question is whether there should be directors for every item, if that should be the case. I'm not giving an answer on that. I don't think it's necessary, but there are other council people differ in their opinion on that per se. So I just kind of leave that in your court as to how those things will be addressed and kind of going forward. But it's kind of in your court. Okay? I vote aye.
Okay, final recorded vote of item 4C, City Ordinance 19-019, 8-0. We're to the list of speakers.
Go. Something's wrong here.
Long list of speakers tonight. You're all, for those of you who are here for the first time, your time for 5 minutes. Laverne, you can start your approach. Your time for 5 minutes. And you can watch the clock tick off as you go.
Don't talk on my time, though. All right. Excuse me, council. Yesterday we had a ribbon cutting over in Montgomery Gardens. It's not Montgomery Gardens no more. It's the Miller Gardens. And the houses are very nice. Don't get me wrong. But look behind the picture. There's 2 or 3 buildings that's empty that's still left. 2 weeks ago, we had a young lady here that was homeless. She went through hell. She has 3 kids. Between last council meeting and this one, I have gotten at least 10 to 12 calls. People looking for houses here in this city. It's a disgrace what's going on. We allow housing authority to let the government tear down these houses, and they don't put back what they tear down. This is brick and mortar. If they redid the senior building, there's 2 buildings left. You should talk to the Michaels Construction. We need to revamp this here and not let them tear down no more housing. We are lack of housing here in Jersey City, and you guys are hearing it from people coming to this council. This is a disgrace what's going on. We're not putting back in Lafayette Gardens what we took down. We had all them tall buildings in Curry Wood. They talk about crime. It ain't about no crime. It's about the quality of life of people that can't afford this high-end rent that's coming to our city. People need somewhere to live. And this is a disgrace what's going on with housing here. We got to do better. We got to do better. We got to work together. We need to really get to these developers. We worrying about plans, about doing Garfield Avenue, this redevelopment plan. But we need to work on how we need to work with the mayor and whoever else is council, with planning board. This is a disgrace what's going on. And people have nowhere to live. They can't even afford to stay here. And the houses that they can afford in, we're cutting them less than half. And then you give them Section 8 and they jerk that around. You heard that from the lady that was here 2 weeks ago. People are losing their Section 8. We got to do better. Now, the other thing I'm here is about Astor Place, the garden. What's going on there? I think it needs to be oh God, we need to examine it. Tina Bland and all these people are here about this garden. I take kids there in the summer with my summer program. There's a lot of kids in here that visit it. Every Friday at that garden, they give out juice. And on Saturday, they give out food up there. And then when they do their garden, they give it to the community. They don't charge nobody for it. And everybody here for the garden, please stand up. If you're here about Astor Place Garden, please stand up. These people is not here in vain tonight. We're not here in vain tonight. We're here because this lady and Deborah, where's Deborah?
Please speak into the mic.
I'm speaking to the mic. But we're here tonight to support them, and we need to revisit. She can't get in there, but when they open it, and she'll tell you more about what they're doing to her, and it's a disgrace because a lot of kids from not just in the Astor Place area, you got kids come from 16th Street, all over. I got kids from all over the city that we bring to this garden in the summertime. And then year round they up there giving out juice on Friday, on Saturday morning, me and her, 6 o'clock in the morning, we up in the heights picking up vegetables to give out. I give them out on Randolph, she give them out in the garden. This is a disgrace what's going on. We need to visit. We worry about sometimes the wrong thing. We need to work this out, the city, the Board of Ed, about that yard up there and get it back open for the community.
I don't think anyone here on the council knows what's going on.
Excuse me?
We don't know what's
No
going on.
one on the council here knows what's going on. So.
We don't know. Nobody has told us anything. So let's wait till they come and tell us.
Okay, but Tina Bland can explain it to you much.
When we call her, she'll tell us.
Okay, Tina, I'm going to let you finish it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that was. Oh, it's not withdrawn. No.
Next speaker,
Was it supposed to be withdrawn?
Jerry Carapolo. Jerry Carapolo.
22, right? Okay.
Jerry, are you here? Jerry Carapolo.
Oh, come on, he's not here.
Okay. Dwayne Baskerville. Monique Andrews. Cheryl Monroe. Hi, Miss Monroe.
I'm going in to get something. I'll be back.
Your time is up. I'm only kidding. Only kidding.
Well, where's my music to play me off?
I can sing it for you.
All right.
Please begin.
I'm here to talk about the lack of bus service and the elimination of the number 4 bus from Ward F. And it concerns me because I'm back here again. This was years ago. Our number 99, which was formerly the number 3, was eliminated, and we had to fight to get the number 6 bus. So we got the 6, we got a 6L that goes down the loop and goes into Lafayette. The Garfield Avenue bus had been eliminated, so that was to accommodate those folks. Now the number 4 is gone, which takes us down to the mall and to ShopRite. It's a major hub. And we can't get there without having to take more than one vehicle at this point. I would have to take a bus to the square and then take one of the little jitneys. Or I would have to go to the square and take the PATH train. And if I hear about the light rail, I'm going to tell you right now, the light rail doesn't do anything for me or for a lot of people. Because where I live in Bergen Hill, that is a half mile to almost 3/4 of a mile away. So once again, I would have to take a bus to get to the light rail. So I just don't understand why there's such a dearth of amenities and services when it comes to public transportation. You hear, go green, take transportation, but then you eliminate our transportation. So what are we supposed to do? And that's why I'm here tonight. I'm here to address that because it's a shame. We talk about how Jersey City is becoming or has become the second most populous city in the state. That's all well and good. We have a bunch of people who are transplanting from various places, mostly New York, But those people are moving into places where they have those amenities provided for them. The Beacon, Dixon Mills, they have their own jitneys. So they're able to get around. But what about those people who have lived here for generations, who have lived here and pay taxes, pay city taxes to pay for amenities which we are not receiving? And it's just not fair. And there are people who will suffer silently and complain to one another. Obviously, I'm not one of those. These people back here, they're not those people. We are coming to you and asking for you to step in and get New Jersey Transit to do what needs to be done, which is provide us with bus service. I don't want to get on a jitney. I don't want to get on a bus to travel to the light rail, which is still going to leave me far out of the way of where I have to go. So I would like to know what it's going to take. What will you do about it? Are you going to tell me that there's nothing you can do about it? Or are you going to take action? Because action is clearly what's needed. If I had to walk a half a mile, that would put stress on me. If my neighbors, some of the elderly, and it's not just the elderly, it's not just the disabled. If you're a young parent and you've got kids in tow, eventually you're going to wind up with dead weight on your hands because those little kids can't walk a half mile to 3/4 of a mile. So I need to have some action taken. And on Saturdays and Sundays, we need more than one bus per hour moving through our neighborhoods. And that's basically what I have to say. And it upsets me greatly that you have millionaires coming here building these high rises. They're getting tax abatements, but my taxes have doubled. There are people who are transplants, and once they transplant themselves to other places, they'll move on, and then there will be other transplants to take their place. But we will still be here. So we need service. We need the amenities to help us have a good quality of life, because right now, this is not the thing. There are people who can't even park in my neighborhood because it's so overexpanded. People wait for an hour trying to get a parking space by their house, once again, where they pay city taxes. So I need for you to take some action, and I would like to hear what that's going to be.
Thank you. We have Yvonne.
Yvonne Walser. Last week at School 7 on March 20th, there was a meeting by the Board of Ed, and the board members said that the taxpayers of Jersey City are looking at a 100, 150, and a 200% tax increase, said by board members. Is playing right now on television, so if you want to check it out, you can find it there. 1/4 of Jersey City is still tax abated. So when those taxes go up to 200% as a potential, you're talking about homelessness on a high scale. And I really blame this council, and I blame the council going all the way back to Brett Schundler, because I had spoken over and over again how tax abatement harmed me, and even to the point that Candace Osborne argued with me that the state will never cut our funding. Well, she's not there any longer. But I have had people from the Schundler administration argue with me that will never happen. Well, I've been to those meetings when the state says as soon as Jersey City is elected their own board, you're on your own. I was in those meetings in the late 90s. I remember those meetings quite well. And this problem is squarely on you because you gave away the rateable base for tax abatement. And that ordinance that you passed 2 weeks ago of 24% for tax abatement, what is 24% when they're saying right now, various council board members up there, of a 200% increase. So my former home, which went up from like $14,000 to $40,000 in taxes, a 24% increase, they're paying basically $10,000 to the Board of Ed. They're looking at another, paying $20,000 to the Board of Ed. on top of that. I mean, there is no sense of rationale at all. You're talking about affordable housing. You can't get the people in here. It's a scam. And you caused this problem. You really did. Because you refuse to put, you refuse to look at the picture. Every tax abatement is not a rateable. And I want to say how really bad it is.
Yvonne, you have 3 minutes left.
Well, I'll make it a very fast one.
When it gets to 2 minutes, you're done. I'm sorry. I forgot.
When the city had their tax lien, 6,700 people were in lien. Secaucus had 13 people in lien. Now, Secaucus is much smaller. But if you do the math on Secaucus, Jersey City, Secaucus, if we were Secaucus, it would be 200 people in lien, not 6,700. Because you gave away the rateable base. There are 13 million properties that are not will not be affected by the increase from the Board of Ed. 13, I mean, it's an awful lot. Why don't you pass something special to make all those tax abated properties to pay their fair share to the Board of Ed? We have a law that says rent control properties cannot have a tax pass-along. Why? I have a tax pass-along every year. Where was the fairness in the system? You can't talk about affordable housing when you're throwing us out into the street. And I blame you because you just rubber stamp everything Philip says all the time. I really do. I blame you. And I'm really upset that this is going to be a ghost town because no one can afford to stay here. One thing I want to bring up, and I brought it up before with Senator Cunningham, nothing came of it. I said, why don't you pass a resolution that the state should pay for charter schools? That's $72 million that comes out of their budget from the school. The state made this a law. The state should fund it. It is the state law that the state funded. Nothing ever came of that. So why don't you do something to demand the state to pay for charter schools? They'll at least the schools will have $72 million they do not have to fork over. I mean, they're taking the school funding right now and saying, oh, we're going to give people, immigrants, they're going to go to community college. Oh, no, it wasn't that. It was immigrants, I forgot how much it was. I mean, they cut our funding to the school to make sure children can go to college and immigrants can go to college. And we're worrying about a big tax increase. Where is your resolution attacking this guy up there, Murphy? He's not doing anything for us. And all of these major problems happen always under Democratic governors. I mean, the previous governor didn't give the state, didn't cut the funding, but at least he kept it at a certain level. So all you guys are Democrats. Speak to him.
Robert.
But it's wrong. And you should.
Yvonne,
you're complete. I'm sorry I neglected to start the clock. Can you just kindly sum up in a sentence?
Well, my sum up is you caused this problem. You fixed this problem. You broke Jersey City. You fixed Jersey City. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Migdalena Torres.
Ryan Platt, you fixed the problem.
Hi, good evening. My name is Migdalena Torres. I am a crossing guard.
now if you could pick the microphone up.
Yeah, lift it up and project. Like when you're telling the kids, hey,
stop. Well, my name is Migdalena Torres. I've been working for the city for 17 and a half years. I asked for a family leave 2 weeks ago because my husband had a heart attack. While I was taking care of my husband, my sister dies. And the only thing they're doing is putting me back and forth. This is to everybody in the crossing guards, not only me. It's to every crossing guard in Jersey City. They're playing games where they send you from one place to another. You go to HR, they send you the supervisor. The supervisor, you can't talk to them because you got to text them. And it's getting to the point where we're all stressing because of this. They're watching us like dogs, like if we've done something wrong 3 times a day, we have to sign in the school 3 times a day. And then to top it off, you got seniors coming up these stairs of the schools. They have to walk up a flight of stairs just to sign in every day. And it's not 1 time. We got to sign in 3 times.
Ma'am, Santos is working on this.
I know, and I told Mr. Santos.
And they're going to get this straightened out because what's going on is a disgrace.
It is a disgrace. The way they're treating us is a disgrace. Because I came back on Monday and I text my supervisor, Crystal, and she told me go to HR. I went to HR. I gave him my letter. They told me go back to work. Crystal see me that afternoon. The next morning, she gets up to my corner. Who gave you permission to come back to work?
Stay in front of the microphone, please.
She gets out the car with her hand in her. Who gave you permission to come back to work? You got to be approved. I was not sick. I was taking care of my husband. And it's all the guards. It's not only me. They're already tired of it.
Yeah, they're picking on the older crossing guards.
I was one
it's
that
gonna
has...
stop, and Santos is in court, and he's going to court, and there's going to be a lot of problems if it doesn't stop.
I was one that got the letter. I never was written up. And I got a letter being fired last year while I was on vacation. Out of 60 crossing guards, 35 were the old ones. This is a disgrace what's happening to Juana Moli and her 9 people that are working in the office while it was run by 3 people, Fran Patterson, Chris Miller, and Cynthia Vargas. They ran that office good. Now, you miss out of your paycheck, nobody knows nothing. You call the office, nobody picks up the phone. You got to text your supervisor. Why do we got to text our supervisor when we got an office where we can call? And also, did you guys know that there was a crossing guard hit by a car? Sylvia Rivera. Nobody went to see her. She had a fractured elbow and they just finished operating her knee. I don't think it's fair to us. We're out there in all kinds of weather. We deserve a raise. We deserve respect. Nothing else I'm asking for. And also, I did twist my ankle at my corner. And I told 4 supervisors, nobody read an accident report. I get a bill. I come back to HR. They told me they can't pay the bill unless a supervisor signs it. That I have to go looking for a supervisor, which they demoted because she had an attack. So what do I do about this bill? Now it's going to collection. I called the office when I went to the hospital. The lady that I talked to was Lisa. I talked to Melissa. And I talked to Shalonda. Nobody ever did a report. I'm still with the pain in my knee. My leg gets swollen. Nobody has said nothing. The same way as Sylvia. It took 2 months for them to send her to the doctor of the city. 2 months. A lady that fought cancer, she had to go through all this crap. And I don't think it's fair. I am so pissed off with this city, with everything that's going on. It's not fair.
Brian.
Wait, please let her conclude her
Just let her
remarks.
conclude her statement. And then
She has 20 seconds. Please conclude your
I
remarks.
finished here, sir. I finished.
You're
With the whole
concluded.
thing, yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
thank you, Ms. Torres.
All right.
So before we continue, Councilperson Waterman?
Brian, could you follow up with this and see what's going on with the crossing guards, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Be able to let us know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
The issue has been going on for over a month and a half. They've been
Okay.
having meetings up in Pershing Field, and Santos is, you should speak to Santos.
Speak to him regularly. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
There's going to be lawsuits against the city, I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
And the Council President,
Yeah, let me, yes, Councilman Young.
you know, seems like the issue is very serious.
Wait,
I
wait.
think they not treat them fair. So what we have to do, our business administrator do that there's some investigation that matter. After that, if we're not satisfied with the answer by business administrator, the city council should be set up the committee, look into matters a little more.
Eyal Schuster.
Fair.
Okay.
Wait, let me just make one last statement. Brian, as you do your investigation into this, the family leave issue, would like to get a report on that. I'm not sure what exactly the situation is there, but if you could provide...
No
ma'am.
speaking
Sorry.
from the audience.
Talita, if you could just speak to her. My aide will discuss that with you. But if you can look into that family leave matter, would appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
Next speaker, Eyal Schuster.
He's not here?
Melody Renier. You have the spelling correct?
R-E-G-N-I-E-R.
Got it correct.
Yes, pronounced it correctly, too. Thank you.
Please begin.
Hi, good evening, council members. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Please project a little more.
Sorry. I just wanted to come here tonight to keep something at the top of your minds, which has already been brought up very passionately. It's about the school funding crisis. I know that you're already aware that we're underfunded by $100 million and that the state is withdrawing $27 million additional dollars of aid this year and over $150 million over the next 5 to 7 years. And I just want to make sure that this really stays as a top priority. We have 30,000 students in the district public schools, and right now it really feels like they're being hung out to dry. I know last year you took steps with the payroll tax to address this issue, but we just have to realize that those are only the very first steps, and we need you to keep paying attention. The payroll tax will pay for but a portion of the state aid being withdrawn, and it doesn't even approach the amount we're underfunded locally. We really have to do more, not just for the benefit of the children, but also for the health of Jersey City. Functioning and flourishing public schools are as much of a public service needed by the community as a well-staffed police force and fire department. If we don't fund the schools properly, absentee rates will go up, graduation rates will fall, both of which lead to an increase in crime, as well as resulting in greater financial burden on the city with increased spending in public assistance, health care, and the criminal justice system. I just want to give you a brief snapshot of what the schools look like now before the additional funding is lost. Class sizes are already growing because of cuts to teaching staff. So more students in the classroom, less focus on each one. Kids, they don't have full-time nurses in the schools because the nursing staff has been cut. They're rotating through schools, which means kids who need insulin or have epilepsy, they don't have a medical professional there all the time. Security staff has been cut, and there's been reports of increase in bullying and behavior problems. Support roles have been cut. Crisis intervention teachers, guidance counselors, social workers. And this is when there's been a reported nationwide increase in depression, anxiety, and trauma among young people. Sports and afternoon programs have been cut, programs that teach socialization and healthy habits. Supplemental math and literacy teachers have seen cuts, leaving struggling students really to fend for themselves. The schools are struggling to provide clean drinking water. There are repairs that aren't done, like bathroom stall doors that are just off. I mean, these kids don't even have the privacy when they need to use the toilet. Last week, the Board of Ed presented their initial budget, and the cuts to staff positions, their salary and benefits, educational programs, and sports are really devastating. And if you haven't seen it, you should really take a look. It's pretty sobering. So I'm just wondering, how do we expect the teachers, administrators, and students to remain enthusiastic and committed in that kind of environment? I mean, when the message that we're giving to them is that we're not committed to them. We just keep cutting costs, but we need to be increasing revenue. And, we need a commitment from you to support that funding. To find the surplus and unallocated funds, if there are any, to be directed to the school systems. We need to invest in our future, and we need the children of Jersey City to know that they are of value to us. And we need to follow through with the problems. You've taken the first steps, but if we don't finish, then it's a symbolic gesture at best. So we just have to realize if we fail the schools, we are failing the city. So I just want to make sure it remains top of mind. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make, I know there'll be other speakers, I'll make a very quick statement, because I know there are other speakers here who are going to speak on this. For the record, tonight the budget is being introduced for the city, and the council will accept the mayor's budget, which was drafted by them. The council really hasn't had an opportunity to kind of really review it, but as traditionally we accept the budget anyway, and we'll begin our process of reviewing that to see what's been allocated. But to my knowledge, no additional dollars beyond kind of it will include a tax increase for the city, but no additional dollars are included in this current budget as been presented to the council. I've said for the record already, and I'm going to look more closely at this budget, that we've gotten a number of settlement agreements for the Port Authority settlement and additional dollars there, as well as the Jersey City Medical Center, and to dedicate those dollars to the schools. We agree there's a funding crisis, and we're talking potentially tens of millions of dollars in settlement money that's been provided. And it's my intention, if not in the next meeting and the future meeting, after reviewing the budget, to introduce a resolution to get a commitment for folks to allocate those dollars and to find an avenue by which those dollars can be allocated towards the schools and a mechanism to make that happen. In addition, there was land sales, which we still have to, again, review that through this budget process. And I know of at least one potential land sale that has come before the council in discussions that included $12 million potentially for the city of Jersey City, as well as $11 million as part of an agreement and impact fees that I've also said on the record in a previous meeting should be dedicated to the Jersey City Public Schools. I know that we've had differences on this issue as it pertains to the abatements and the issue there, but the school funding crisis is what it is, and it's undeniable, and so we need to address it like a crisis as it is, and we need to make sure that we move swiftly to address the kind of the funding deficits around that, and I think this is kind of the fastest and quickest way, most expeditious way to making sure that we provide some relief, at least in this coming year, to be able to give people some breathing room on this issue. That being said, I'll continue the public hearing.
Next speaker is Suzanne Siddiqui.
Yeah, good.
Siddiqui. Kevin Gosa. We have your spelling correct, sir?
That's correct, yes.
Great.
Thank you, Council, for this meeting tonight. Thank you for Council President. I want to thank you for your words you just spoke. Obviously, I'm here as well to talk about my perspective on where we are with our school system.
We can hear you.
Sorry, I'll get a little closer. There's a couple things I want to note about the schools for your information as you consider where we're going from here and what your role is. We have heard regularly many complaints from city officials, from the mayor's office, from individuals on this council about this board, the Board of Ed, and whether or not they have any oversight and accountability, and what are they going to do with this money, and how is this going to be handled. And I think those are serious concerns, and I think a lot of parents share them. What I want to say is I think it's important for you guys not to understand that it's not just the board's responsibility, but it's also on us parents. And I know there are several, 6 to a dozen parents going to the Board of Ed meeting tomorrow night to do the very same thing we're doing here tonight, to talk to you about how important this is and how we can't allow this situation to continue, this lack of engagement, a severe lack of engagement with the issues of our public school system, as if it's somebody else's problem. The Board of Ed passing the buck to the state, or the City Council and the Mayor's office passing the buck to the Board of Ed. I'm not going to ask you guys to defend the Board of Education. All right, because I think there are some things that you might look at and say, I can't defend that. What I will ask you to do is to have the back of your constituents who are fighting this fight alongside you. Those of us who are going to countless meetings, doing innumerable hours of research into the numbers and trying to figure out how do we make a difference? How do we really have a long-lasting impact? Some of the solutions that have been uncovered so far are very short-term. They're not going to fix this problem long-term. Even if we were funding our per pupil at the rate that is the national average, we're a $450 million district if we're just funding at the national average. And that doesn't account for the fact that we're a high poverty district, that we have a lot of special education needs, that we have a lot of English language learner needs, all of which require more funding than the national average numbers account for. So we're not looking at cuts ever really being able to get us there. We have a revenue problem, and we have to find long-term revenue solutions. part of which is the payroll tax that you approved, and I thank you again for your fight there. And we're just going to keep coming. We're going to keep coming to these meetings, and we're going to keep talking about this. And we want to work with you. We want the community groups. Our community group met with Councilperson Solomon last week to talk about this issue, and we're going to keep talking about this issue. Because although the past got us to this moment, all we can do is learn from the mistakes we made and start making better decisions going forward. We can't just sit here and harangue each other over what should have happened with regard to the abatements or what should have happened with regard to taxation and other areas. We have to look for solutions that are going to get us forward, that are going to be sustainable long term. And we have to make these kinds of things a priority, and you guys have to put pressure on this administration to start making this stuff a priority. If there's not money coming in the budget, we have to put pressure on the mayor and his office and everybody to understand how important this issue is. It's not going to go away. The school district is going to get larger. And I think I just want to reiterate one small thing. Help us. Help us advocate to that school board. Help us get that school board to be more accountable to the constituents that elected it. Because when you disengage, things happen in the shadows. There's two groups that citizens can go to dig in. We can go to the school board and we can go to you guys. Without your involvement, we're down 50% of our advocacy efforts disappear. And all the negotiations then happen in other ways where parents and citizens of the city don't have an opportunity to have their voices be heard. That's why we need you to support us just as much as we need you to do some solution making and some solution finding on your own. We need you to be there at meetings. We need you to be talking to your constituents in their neighborhood. What's going on with the schools? How can I help you? Go advocate so that we can see the long-lasting change the city deserves, the students deserve, so that we're not just a shiny, brand-new paver-filled downtown of a Jersey City, but that we're one whole Jersey City with one school system where everybody thrives and flourishes. We need your help, and we need you to stay engaged.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shamoon Ramroop. Shut that off before it makes noise. Elvire Bland. Bring that microphone to a nice, comfortable speaking position for you. Thank you. Might want to lift it up just a little bit. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I am a resident of Jersey City, and I live on Astor Place. We have a community garden that we have been the stewards of for the last 10 years. This garden is adjacent to public school number 12. 10 years ago, it was a drug-infested, needle-infested eyesore to Jersey City. This community came together, cleaned it up, and turned it into a free community garden. That garden feeds over 300 people on the weekends. We have a food bank, and we make a juice distribution. It's free to the public. There's no forms you have to fill out. You come, you volunteer, and you receive the benefits. In November, a committee person from Ward F11 went on record at a Board of Education meeting and asked that our community garden be closed. On Sunday night, we received a letter from the Board of Education advising us that our garden would be closed. And as of today, there is a lock on our garden. All the people that are here today from the Astor Community Garden, all these people,
Education.
Ma'am.
all recipients of the food and the services that that garden provides. The committee person that made that request does not reflect the will of the people on Astor Place. And we just want this council to know that this matter means a lot to us. Many of these people would never be able to subsidize their food income without the free services that they provide.
Why was the lock put on? By who?
Let her finish. Go ahead and finish, Ms. Bland.
We're asking this board to be aware of this situation and to help us through it. This is not a Board of Education issue. This was a committee person who made a personal issue a public issue, and it got ahead of our community. And now we are being punished for it. And we do not deserve that. We work there free, we work there willingly, we provide a service that is necessary. Our community is one that is a food desert, yes. We have fast food places, we have convenience stores, and we have one substandard supermarket that none of you would ever buy anything from. And that's what we have to face. But they go home with large bags of fresh produce, and we also have a contract with a juice company. And this is the service that we want you to help us get back. We want no change, no way. We want to go back to what we had and keep it going. I thank you.
You want to address it?
Yeah,
You guys want to address it? No.
I have a question.
You want to address it on the record? No.
I just have a question, just for clarification, Ms. Bland.
Who owns the lot?
The lot isn't, the program isn't through our city Adopt a Lot program, right? It's connected to PS12 through the Board of Education?
That property belongs to Jersey City Board of Education. 10 years ago, we went in and saw the principal, and she gladly said, you can do whatever you need to do with that lot, and we, as a school, want to concentrate on education and be a silent partner. And that's what we maintained. Thank you.
Cut the lock in.
Okay, Lavarone Sabante. Lavarone Sabante.
They say no.
Doreen Upshaw.
I mean, even
We have Doreen Upshaw.
Nope. Yeah, the elected officer.
George Fontanet. I'd ask anybody who's on the speakers list to kind of migrate towards the front. Thank you. Please begin, sir.
Good evening. I'm here in support of the Astor Place Neighborhood Association. So, you already heard, they distribute food on Saturday mornings. They've done this without fail for a number of years. Now, in my mind, if the Board of Education is engaged in massive cuts, you're about to cut a bunch of jobs, then you're short-handed. To pass those responsibilities on over to someone else, right, in terms of maintaining the garden, maintaining access to that small swath of land, that's burdening someone who's already probably overwhelmed with additional duties. Like the last speaker said, this is a vendetta. A committee man who wants control of the garden. He was not allowed to get a foothold in terms of acquiring control. So this is the result. If a committee man is going to use his influence, right, on this level, he shouldn't be a committee man. If a committee man would rather see a program that feeds over 300 people every week destroyed because he has a personal vendetta, he doesn't need to be a committee man. If you got a community that has been disadvantaged for a very long time, and then you have some people who, without the help of the city, spent their own time, their own money, making sure that this property was viable, coming up with their own programs to help feed people in the city. This is money that the city doesn't have to put out. This is programs that they're not coming to you for. But then if a committee man could just come in and say, you know what? I need y'all to do this for me. And you acquiesce in some way, shape, or form. I'm not, when I say you understand, I'm talking about the Board of Education.
Oh.
If that's acquiesced, right, then what are we doing? We got to ask that question. What are we doing? Here we are, communities here. Each one of you already know the enormous task that you have, right? The burden that you face, the problems that people come up here with. These people come in here, they trying to fight for something that is already provided outside of the purviews of government. To destroy that would destroy the fabric of that neighborhood, would set a tone in terms of gentrification and the relationship with people who are moving in that are new, because it projects that those people want to take over at all costs. And if that is the case, then it's going to be a hot summer. I guarantee y'all.
Can I ask a quick question?
Wait.
No, he finished it.
Let him finish.
You finished?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he finished. Okay, now, can I ask a few
Gentlemen,
questions?
finish.
Yeah, he said he finished.
I'm complete.
Yeah.
All right, then that's it.
Okay.
I'm
Let me ask
resetting
you
the
this.
clock, and we'll let the councilman talk.
Yes. Did you spoke with the Board of Ed, members of the Board of Ed? What they say?
There's a Board of Ed meeting tomorrow, and we're going there.
Yes, please. Because you know what? City of Jersey, we have a lot of empty lot. We rent to Board of Ed for the parking space. If they don't do that, when they ask to renew the contract for the parking space from the owned by Jersey land, maybe we have to say no. Number one. Number two, we have a great man in the mayor's office, Keith. Keith, would you raise your hand? He's the trouble solver. Speak with him. He's very good for that, okay?
Next speaker is
Very
Cindy
good.
All right,
Santiago. We have 41 people on the speakers list tonight, council members. Cindy Santiago. Claudia Ozaha.
Cindy?
Are you Cindy?
Okay.
I'm kindly asking anyone whose name is near to kind of migrate at least to the front row. Okay? So we can keep this moving. Cindy?
Hi.
Your time begins now.
Okay, I'm a single mother. Microphone. Right here? Okay, I'm a single mother.
Bring the microphone closer to your mouth. Yep.
I'm a single mother of 2 children. And I want to say that this garden helped me a lot. A lot. And the father of my children don't help me with no money. I got 3 jobs that help me to pay the rent, to pay the bills, and all the things that my children need. And I could say, and the food. So this garden helped me with the vegetable and the juice. This for my kids. And this one of the vegetable that they give me. It's fresh. So what I want is to help us. I don't want this country, this garden closed. Please, help.
Thank you.
For real. Thank you.
Claudia Ozoha.
Claudia Ozola.
Veronica Brown. Kim Fields. Bruce Edwards.
Good evening, Council President, Council people. I'm a member of Belmont's Block Association, and I've been in the neighborhood about 14 years. And what I can say, I'm here to speak about the garden, the garden on Astor Place. That garden has been a beacon of light in that area before the upturn in the area. Ms. Bland and Ms. Austin have worked tirelessly in that garden, using their money to get the garden up and running. They plant, they dig in with their own hands, and they plant and they bring forth food to feed the neighborhood, the community. Now, in that area, it's there's a lot of stuff that goes on. There's good, and there's a lot that's bad. But this is a shining light in the community. And for the garden to be affected by personal angst is just not right. And how it affects the community, I know that all of you who are here, you choose those jobs, you ran for office to help your community because you felt like you could help the community. That's why you're sitting here. That's why you spend your time here. And I think that it would be a travesty for the garden to be shut down because of a personal vendetta. It's just crazy. I myself have eaten and collard greens. They've had all kind of food, cantaloupes. They grow all kind of stuff. I've been around in the Jersey City. It's the best garden in Jersey City. And Miss Austin, she's there tirelessly. She's there from first thing in the morning till at night. Now, if there was some type of valid reason to close the garden, I don't know. There's no valid reason for the garden to be closed. It doesn't send the right message to the community of Jersey City. It doesn't. It doesn't send the right message. You know, and I, for one, would think it would be a travesty for the garden to be closed. And I just think, I just hope that you guys will consider this and do or speak to whoever you need to speak to so that this can be, so it can be undone. Okay? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, Nancy Pokler.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Nancy Pokler. We have it right? Be okay, LER?
Yes.
Beautiful.
Hi, good evening,
Please
everybody.
begin.
Thanks. Well, I'm here to talk about what I sometimes call Jersey City's dirty little secret, which is our public school funding crisis. So, President Navarro, thank you for your comments and your hopeful commitments to the fundings that you mentioned that could hopefully go to our schools. The last time I was here was when we were talking about the payroll tax, and I advocated for that to be passed. So again, thank you. But we also all said that that was really only step one to even, trying to solve this problem. So now I'm back here today to ask you to, please stay engaged with us and involved with our public schools. Some of this information might be repetitive for my other parents that have spoke on this issue, but I don't think it should become white noise regarding the statistics. And we know that our schools are $100 million underfunded locally by Jersey City. The $150 million in state adjustment aid cuts are also now here. The number is actually higher than we originally thought. It's $33 million, which I believe $27 million in state adjustment aid cuts and an additional $6 million due to charter school enrollments. Last Wednesday, a draft budget was released with the potential for over 700 positions to be eliminated. If this were allowed to happen, it would be catastrophic to our public schools and to our city. The draft budget lists out recommendations to close the shortfall, and that includes major cuts to several areas. Again, these numbers and cuts shouldn't become white noise. They should be very sobering to what our schools and our children are facing. For example, staffing cuts for instructional is $21 million, non-instructional $19 million. That includes over 440 instructional staff, including teachers and teachers' aides, 260 central administration and non-instructional staff positions are eliminated throughout the district. 80 jobs are currently out for hire, which would have to be retracted if the budget is eventually approved. Per diems would be cut. School consolidations, there's cuts to facilities. Educational programs is at $2 million. High school and middle school sports is over $2.5 million. Cuts to healthcare, cuts to pay reduction, retirements, central office efficiencies. These recommended cuts are more than just words on a page. They are real-time, devastating punches to the gut for many schools that are already operating in crisis mode. They're dealing with challenges day in and day out. The funding crisis can't be solved with cuts, especially when many schools have nothing left to cut. There is no more meat on the bone. Our schools need local funding. Our city should care that our schools aren't staffed properly. Our cities should care that our schools have the supplies they need, or that we want them to be safe and clean. Our city should care if our kids have sports programs, or if our kids have recess time or water to drink. We want our schools to be fully functioning and able to serve all our children. So now is the time to address all these issues, the funding issues, the underfunding issues, and it's time to work towards filling the funding void that has been left by this city. It is time for serious dialogue about the actual dollars today that can be allocated to our schools in this budget cycle. We need a meaningful plan to ensure that any surplus funds to the city, that any cost savings, that any recaptured dollars from breach development deals should be allocated in full to the schools. We need action and ideas to generate revenue for our schools, and it's time to get off the sidelines and become an active and willing participant in leading this charge. So we all know the funding crisis just didn't come out of nowhere. It took years of neglect from the city, from the district, from the Board of Ed to get to this point. It will take all these departments working both independently and hopefully together to make our schools whole. As a parent, a resident, and a taxpayer, and a voter, I want to see that Jersey City values and invests in its schools. Our city can't be truly thriving if our schools are failing. We can't hide behind the fancy buildings of downtown anymore. Our schools shouldn't be the dirty little secret of Jersey City. Our schools should be Jersey City's best kept secret. Our schools should be part of the reason families want to move here and stay here, not the reason many families who've been here forever want to leave, or when new families come and they realize the school system is in this state that they end up leaving too. So I ask that you join us and please stay engaged and involved with our public schools going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Henry Guerra.
Yes, typo on the name. It's Henry, Henry, G-A-G.
Yeah, we have.
Thank you.
We have Henry spelled wrong. I said Henry.
Oh, no worries. You
Your
said it
last name,
correctly.
sir?
I'm saying it's spelled wrong. Henry, Henry, last name Gage, G-A-G-E. So, my name is Henry Gage. I work with the Jersey City Anti-Violence Coalition movement as a senior project manager and analyst. I'm here today to talk on the subject of the garden. I get that the council is busy, and this is a topic that isn't within their direct jurisdiction. So part of this is addressed to the people that are here in the auditorium, and at the same time, by the time I get to the end of this, if this is helpful, I'd be happy to type it up and send it to you. I just want to make a few points and observations. Some have already been mentioned. I'm requesting a review of the process that was used and the merit of the complaint. My concern is that Mr. Trickle, who apparently is the person who was involved with the complaint, is also a committee person, as I understand it. He did not follow a democratic process. Was there a survey? Was there a vote before taking what appears to be unilateral action? And worse, there's a question of judgment that's raised. Any of you who have been involved with business transactions know that you want to have some kind of control and governance over a process if someone's going to talk to your customer or someone who can influence an outcome. In this case, it's unacceptable that a person would go without proper authority and touch a transaction that they weren't party to creating without getting proper authority put in place first. It shows a lack of judgment. Mr. Trickle has shown poor judgment in the way he handled this in a unilateral action. Did he, and I question, just as my brother back here questioned, did he use his position as a committee person as he approached the Board of Ed? How can he be trusted in that position going forward? Secondly, I request a review of the committee garden in general bylaws. And the reason I say that is because we need to have some type of consistency in how these things are governed, because we shouldn't be subject to these kinds of surprises. Maybe he felt that there wasn't a stipulation in the bylaw that said, no, just because you're mad at somebody, you can't go across town and say something about them behind their back. You have to go through a process. Maybe the words you need to say before you go over there, you need to take a vote and make sure everybody's in agreement with you. And if you lose, you be quiet. Or you move. The garden was there before he was. We request also a letter of support from the council to the Board of Education. This I view as an opportunity to show leadership, because this is exactly the kind of program that benefits Jersey City and its residents. That's what everyone is saying. And in my final point, I recommend that the city initiate what might be considered a conflict of resolution session. This goes toward what Councilperson Young was alluding to. See, what's interesting, as he mentioned that statement, the city controls land that the Board of Ed benefits from. So how is it possible that a person could just unilaterally say, we're done with you, goodbye?
Please speak to us.
Okay, sorry, couldn't hear me. How is it possible that a person could say, I'm done with you, goodbye, I've made this decision? What they need to understand is that there's a scale in this scenario. They are benefiting in various ways, which means there is an opportunity to claw this back on the table and ask valid questions like, what is the reason that you are deciding to make this decision? It must be a valid reason, or it cannot be allowed to stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Tania Bland. Tania Bland.
We heard all the issues.
Please begin, Ms. Bland.
Good evening, and thank you for hearing me tonight. I appeal to your hearts, and I appeal to your hearts because of the people that we take care of. I will go back again and state what happened. When there was a garbage lot and a drug lot that no one wanted, and people could not get on that corner, and the police was constantly called, there was no one looking out for that lot. When the neighbors asked me to bring their groceries in and put them on the counter, and the dog and cat food came out of a bag, and then she told me there are many of us that are eating like this, I realized it was time as president of that association to do something that would truly benefit the community, that would be lasting for men and women like her that were eating dog and cat food and subsidizing their medication this way. As I walked down that street, I saw this garbage lot. But being a child of the South, I knew there's ground under there. And if we tested that soil, we could have an organic garden because we could grow on top of beds that we made, bringing in lumber one piece at a time, having companies come in and look at it and then give us awards for it. Through our own sweat, we fund that garden, not through any public funding, but through our initiatives with such things as bus rides to museums in Washington, weeks where different colleges come down and help us grow and learn what it means to care about the land and having green spaces, making sure that all of our children have access to that garden and seeds that they bring into schools and grow seedlings so that they can plant. Having high schoolers that come down and do their community service hours, having volunteers of more than 5 different languages that work together in harmony without any fight of anything of this nature. Seeing people that speak so many different languages except English learn how to speak our language, and many of their phrases we learn. Seeing things like this come together makes me very saddened, because it also fills a need that our community must have, that we don't have now. and that you didn't have to provide, because we did. And for 10 years, we were excellent stewards. Now, I will say that our superintendent, our new superintendent, did hear about this, and he said, let us begin to open up the avenues of negotiation. And for this wisdom, I applaud him. But as we went from stewards to now sharecroppers, where we will ask permission every time we touch that key. Why is it a problem? It's a problem because this is the way planting goes. If that ground is not broken as of April 1st, we lose the crop. If we lose the crop, our community loses the food. And what does that mean? That means the money that they subsidize with their clothing, with their rent, with their children, now they must go back to spending it on food. Why is this such a problem? Because our numbers went from 300 to 540 residents that are fed, receive resources. There is a Saturday fair also during the summer when it opens that brings in porta-johns, garbage bags, reading, and I can go on and on. And it is done without any help from anyone except the volunteers. This is a great thing. But why are we here? Because when we hear that it is because of politics, you go to the seat and you say, let's take the politics out and let's put the hard work back in and let's do something real different. Let's wake up and care about the community. I thank you.
We thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Deborah Alston. Deborah Alston, present. As I said, if you're here and you're on the speakers list, we're getting more room in the front. Please migrate to the front. Please begin, Ms. Alston.
Reverend Bland is an excellent community leader who makes sure that everyone is treated with respect and compassion. That Garden Life, she said, had been around for 10 years. Everybody in the community come and help out. We used to have drug dealers used to be on that corner. They even come in and help out now. We even have one now have a master's degree. Of course, he learned everything he can by being our volunteer doing community service hours. Now he's an upstanding citizen of Jersey City that we are very proud of. That garden belongs to everyone who volunteers, and they welcome to volunteer willingly because they love that garden. We make a lot of friends, and they get all the services that they could benefit from. I want people to understand this is a garden that we love dearly, that the community loves. And I appreciate everyone come out and see how that garden is today, benefits our children. They started at age 2 years old. Now some of them are 5 years old. They really doing community, so they really love it because they learn so much. I want to thank you.
Nathaniel Leger, not present. Let's go to the second page of speakers. Rodney Upshaw. Rodney Upshaw. Jerome Cardwell. Ruth Moore. Again, we have this front row here. It's empty. That's the on-deck circle, you know, in the spirit of opening day of baseball season. That's the on-deck circle. So please begin, Ms.
First,
Moore.
I want to say good evening to all of you.
Good evening, Ms. Moore.
I'm in this community, the garden community, for 50 years. And believe me, my doorbell is broken from people ringing to ask me can they go to the garden to get vegetables or fruit, whatever they need to eat. And what I want to do something different. I would like to invite all of you to come down to the garden and we'll cook whatever you want to eat. I'll make barbecue. I'll do anything that you guys want me to do, so you can see just how important the garden is. You need to see it yourselves to believe it. So I invite you all, just give us the date that you want to come down to the garden, and believe me, you will always vote to keep the garden in Jersey City.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ruth.
Janice Lee. Janice Lee. Janice Lee. Albert Brooks. I thought we were going to get the comedian coming here giving us a treat, but
Good evening,
you'll be
gentlemen.
giving us a treat.
I'm a retiree. I'm up in my years. And there's certain things when you're on a fixed income that you cannot buy because you cannot afford it. This place allows you to have different vegetables that the store costs like hell. And y'all know the prices out there because all y'all got wives and children out there. And this has helped me tremendously. And what I can't understand, I'm not switching, is how could one man say no? They have a saying, no one monkey could stop the show. And I wonder how many bananas did that man bring to stop the show? And you gotta sit down and look at it. I know some of y'all think I'm crazy for saying that, but it's a fact. Sit down and look at it closely. Because if that could happen with one man, what the hell would this country do when another man speak and stop this nation? Thank you.
Dorothy Clark. Dorothy Clark.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hold that microphone down to yourself, Ms. Clark.
Good evening. I'm Dorothy. I'm a senior at 744 Ocean Avenue. And I'm just here to ask that can this garden please stay open because it's benefiting me too. And I have 2 great-granddaughters that go to this school. And they're all eating their vegetables. All the children are eating vegetables, more than ever. And I'm just asking, can this garden please stay open? And it's benefiting me too, because they done took my little 18-hour worth of food stamps away, and I need some vegetables to go with my chicken and my neck bones. So I'm just asking, can y'all please help us? That's all I have to say.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Corina Call. Mary Akins. Landon Beckett. Jean Daly. Oh, it's like my birthday. Bridget D'Souza. Hi, Bridget. How are you?
Good evening. I am here tonight to ask about the status of the payroll tax. I want to get on the record the question and also just sort of the baseline of the facts, which I know a lot of you are familiar with. You're probably familiar with everything, but just for the record, the payroll tax, as we know, is making its way through the courts. It recently survived the initial challenge, but it's expected to be appealed, so I realize that it's still a moving target as to when it will become official. The schools, as has been previously stated tonight, has a $100 million deficit currently due to a local school tax funding shortage. We currently, in total taxes, we have $511 million that are paid by Jersey City residents in property tax every year. Of that amount, of that $511 million, $247 million funds the city, so municipal services, $135 million funds the county, and only $124 million funds the schools. So we have a structural problem. We are due to lose state aid in the amount of $250 million over the next 5 to 7 years. And as many of you probably know, we are facing a $27 million cut in the next 2 months alone. So time is of the essence. And so given that we have a $250 million local funding shortfall, I wanted to understand sort of the schedule of the payroll tax, understanding that there still is some uncertainty about when it will be finalized in the courts as to whether or not it's constitutional and so on and so forth. So from a timeline perspective, March 20th, the tentative Board of Ed budget was introduced with the $27 million shortfall included and over 700 layoffs, including hundreds of instructional staff. I can't even imagine how catastrophic these cuts would be to the schools. Okay, the schools are already suffering from underfunding. This would cut into the bone. So that was March 20th. May 7th is the last day of the budget cycle for the Board of Education. They have to finalize their budget and then get it up to the county for approval. All this being said, what I'd like to understand is, I was at the caucus meeting in November 2018 when Mr. Platt went over the fact that it would take 1 to 2 years to get the payroll tax up and running. My immediate question is the payroll tax, if it's implemented, if it survives sort of this court case, will those funds be available for the 2019-2020 school budget cycle? Meaning, are those funds going to be available by May 7th? Because from a taxing perspective, if I'm not mistaken, those funds need to be collected and available in order to be included in the Board of Ed budget. And that's my understanding, but if I'm incorrect, then I'd like clarification on that. So basically, the Board of Ed, will they have up to $27 million to fill the state cut by May 7th? Logistically, is that going to be possible if the payroll tax is passed? I understand the reason why I'm uncertain on this is because Mr. Platt did mention, and I could, if I'm wrong, you can correct me. Based on what you said about the way it worked in Newark, it took 1 to 2 years to get the payroll tax up and running. You needed to hire 1 to 2 employees to get the payroll tax up and running. You have to get the structure and process in place to collect the tax. You have to create the funding structure on the city's books to hold the tax in trust. And then there has to be the process to get the funds from the city to the schools. My understanding is that all of this needs to be that the funds, and this is what I'd just like clarification on. Does all that need to be in place? And do the funds need to be on record on the city's books before May 7th for the school system to be able to say, yes, we have the payroll tax funds for the coming school year? Or is there latitude with that timeline, and is there latitude with what the what the school system can budget for? Now, I realize I'm talking about 2 different local governments. I'm talking about the city and the Board of Ed. But we're all in this together, right? And we're here because there have been issues on both sides. So, to the best of your ability, I'd like to understand where we're going to be on May 7th with respect to the payroll tax. With the end goal being, I want teachers in our schools. This city, the school kids in our city deserve to get a world-class education. They need the funding to support the schools. And it's imperative that we not allow this structural, deep, up to $27 million cut in this year. It will devastate our school system. And that's my fear as a parent. Thank you very much, and I appreciate looking forward to your responses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Folks,
Pace,
so
Accardi.
Before we move on, Mr. Platt, can you, Ryan David, can you answer that question with regard to May 7th? Was it May 7th?
Yeah.
Just the timeline. The timing of that and the payroll tax.
I hope myself answering this is sufficient to the council. I know you made some comments before that perhaps we weren't being sufficient with us answering this question. But, yeah, there's a few things that I can clarify here. So we can't directly comment on the school's budgeting process as to how they can budget for revenues, but typically on the municipal side of government, you have to have either you have to be able to justify it using a prior year revenue or some sort of agreement in place. If it's, for example, like a land sale, you need to show the document that shows the dollars and how much you're going to accept and when you're going to accept it. So I'm not sure how that works here because it's new legislation, it's new revenue. I can only make assumptions at this point as to how they're going to be able to budget for it. But that being said, there's probably an opportunity if the city has collected some dollars to then directly put that into the budget. The other issue with commenting on the record is the pending litigation that's going on here. So there's not a lot we can say about exactly how we're going to be collecting it. But we've said publicly that after that last court case was decided, we're getting very close to starting the collection process. We have pretty much most of the foundation in place, and we hope to begin collecting shortly in the next few weeks. Was that all the questions? Was there something else? I think that was it.
You can also do more written questions, but I think that's the gist of it.
Yeah. I believe also there's a statutory requirement on how much the school can budget according to this. I think that even if we collect more than the amount, more than the gap, that we can't give them more than that. Even if we collect it, we will hold it in the trust. So, but we're confident that we're going to be able to collect a sufficient amount of funding for this.
So does that mean the monies will be, from the payroll tax, will be available to the schools within their budgetary time frame?
Yeah, I believe, I can't remember off the top of my head how we agreed on the payments to the schools. I believe in the regulation, I think it says monthly payments go to the schools, even though we only collect the taxes quarterly. So we'll remit as needed as we get the funds. And we'll report to the schools everything we've collected, so the time that we get it, we'll be able to let them know from budgeting perspective.
Okay. Secaucus.
Okay, I'm here to talk about Ms. Luden's tax collector's appointment. I surfed on the net today.
Hey, can you bring it closer to the microphone? Thank you.
Just to see how many online auction company nationwide that can do online auction, and at least I find 12 online auction company other than realauction.com that does the online auction nationwide. So I don't understand why we have to stick to real auction instead of New Jersey. And when I read the State of New Jersey Commission investigation report, I realized that online auction on State of New Jersey start having the regulation by 2001 by ROK Industry, which also call NJ Tax Lien Investor.com, which is, let's say, is attorney very much associated with the State of New Jersey. And then on 2005, I believe, if I don't remember the exact time, they come to partnership with realauction.com, which they become partnership. That's two companies become partnership. And then because the problem with the online auction, so realauction.com was under investigation for their professional reference, ownership structure, and more so in 2015, they were investigated and was recognized they are not registered to do business with State of New Jersey until 2015. Okay? And in January 2015, they were subpoenaed, and was the court document revealed that the ownership of this company was owned by overseas owner. And I think you can read this from those reports. I'm just reminding you from this 56-page report. And yet, you still decide to, and this report has 3 pages, indicate that Ms. Luden has a very close relationship with auction realauction.com. Her mother is the vendor advocate hired by this company, and then her mother was our tax sale was CTC, former CTC before. And of course, her daughter become a tax collector. As a family business, she got the certification. But Ms. Luden, as a professional tax collector, she has a credential, but her credential come from 2012 in Break Bank, not even for a year. Then went to Highland Park. At the same time, she worked for North Plainfield as a part-time consultant for online auction. And she also had relationship with realauction.com. That's very much a conflict interest. Okay? And in this report on page 13 indicate any new provision expressly prohibit the owner, equity holders, and the personnel of NJ TaxLink investor and the real auction from participating as bidders.
Thank you, Pei. The next speaker is
Okay, so I urge
Dorisha
you
Dowling.
not to appoint her.
Dorisha Dowling, please.
You know, Bob, I just want to make sure that record is correct.
Resolution is withdrawn. The next speaker is Dorisha Dowling.
A resolution is withdrawn?
Phil Carrington. Saw him here earlier. You know, Phil, this is the on-deck circle.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You have to make a bigger, this big approach. Come on, let's go.
I can give you your time. I need my time.
Oh, your time is running, brother.
City Council President, members of the City Council, I am Phil Carrington. I'm here to speak particularly to an issue that's been going on for quite a while with me. I'm here to amicably resolve this issue, and of course ask that the city do what they say on the City Hall Annex, the building. It is say the time is always right to do what's right. I'm asking you to do what's right, to play it fair, and that you would just stop lying. I would like to digress for a moment and just give my support for the Astor Place Garden. And I'm not going to go much further than that. I think that it is indeed a good cause. But there has to be a little bit more, and I don't usually get involved with a situation unless I hear the pros and cons. I'm hearing from my people, and again, I support them. But as a City Council President is here, and one that's at large that I'm quite sure is familiar with this ongoing situation, and they haven't spoken, and so I would need that kind of balance in order to give a better opinion. Again, I support that, and it kind of threw me off as well. Back to the situation that I'm speaking on. In 2015, I had a matter with the Bethune Center and the City of Jersey City. We were a tenant at the time. We got a letter on August 12th from them, from the business administrator, saying that we owe some money, which was not true. And then we get a follow-up letter from the director, Alvin Pittett. And these letters were all false, they were lies, and continue to be lies. Well, in order for the law department to defend these lies, that they have to cover up the lies with some more lies. So in November the 15th and November the 2nd, we went to court, and they present a false document. And of course, I signed the document. For example, the document basically asked that they would evict us from room 101 of the Bethune Center. Room 101 at the time was the Melissa Holloway Art Gallery, and still is. So you cannot ask the court to give you something that you already have. And so that's the issue that we raise. Continue on with that, or to write on that, It says, the letter from Alvin Pittett says that on August the 12th, he said that we will be evicted from the Bethune Center on September 1st. There was no letter sent to us prior to that date. There was no request for money for rent forward or backward. And there was no notice to quit. So if you're going to evict some person lawfully, at least you would say, give me the money or just pay. That didn't happen. But what even more bizarre, that I have a new attorney, is Philip Edelman, and he is in court making false statements. In other words, the law department have unclean hands. You cannot continue to come to court with false statements, or as we arguably say in the black community, they're just simply lying. You see, his statement is, and one of the statements is that I say that the law department or the lease say that they would give the lease to a person by the name of Larry Bembry, and he would get it to me, the tenant, and we would sign it. I did just that. On July the 20th, he sent a letter to the court saying that Larry had nothing whatsoever to do with it. Well, I submitted a memo, and the memo is just really it's among this. The memo is one paragraph, and the memo exactly say what I'm saying. In other words, the statement that Philip Edelman said, and it's signed also by the Corporation Council, is knowingly false or willfully false. I mean, you can't use the term lying. I'm not sure if you can use that, but they have unclean hands, and they're continuing to make these willfully false statements. And so I'm just asking the governing body, or you all, that this matter just needs to stop. My real question is, and I hope that this is kind of sensitive, so if you need to ask people to stop whatever, this is your house, by the way. But my question is, what is the purpose for us to be in court? If you cannot prove everything, discovery is over, by the way. So if everything that you're saying, you cannot back it up with facts, I'm not sure what is the purpose for us to be here. So that's a question to the law department. What is the purpose? I need the question to be answered. I'm asking the question. I'm not going to speak anymore.
Good night.
The question is...
your time is up, Phil.
Thank
you.
Yes,
Jason Berg.
I need a question to be answered.
Sir, Jason Berg's term is to speak.
What was his question?
What is the purpose for this matter to continue to be in court? Simple question.
That's not a question the council doesn't.
No, the question it doesn't have to answer. The law department is here.
Calendars. You can write a letter to the Corporation Council. Jason Berg.
Those of you who want, this is a copy of the information here.
Philip, you have an attorney?
You have an attorney, Phil?
No, I'm pro se. I don't use attorneys.
There's only one copy?
Yeah, that's your copy. There's two letters. One from me and one from Lee.
Jason Berg, you get to be the keynote speaker.
Yes, last but not least.
And I'm going to have my best daydream of the day. Start right now.
All right. I'm going to go back to February 13th, 2019. When I came in late, I couldn't speak, and I was told by you, Mr. Byrne, that there would be a go-around. It means that I had to go and do my wait until I had to speak. Well, that didn't happen. I called for a point of order. No one listened to me. Even the president didn't follow up. The real thing here is, well, you can't speak if you're not on the list. But if you missed your turn, we're going to give you a go-around, and we're going to go, oh, sorry, we're finished. Look, if a man can't keep his word, he should be cut out. That's important. On another issue is, do we really need government when it fails to provide quality services to its inhabitants, who are also city taxpayers, property owners, business, etc.? The answer is no. The federal government can't even do its FEMA job. Yes, we'll get around to it when we have the right supplies. Nothing like having the Louisiana get vehicles that were polluted. It was approved by HUD, H-U-D, Housing Development Department of retardation. Oh, can't use that word. Okay. But I was called retarded. That's okay. Government is to provide us with service serve and protect, well, but beware. They provide us with disservice and little protection, especially in the state of New Jersey that doesn't allow its people to have arms. And if people come complaining about, the big things about people having too many guns, there's statistics that police have shot more civilians than civilians have shot police. And to have to run away, be in the corner, be attacked, oh, you should have called the police. Meanwhile, the other person's dead on the ground and you wait around. Thank you very much for your participation. And even when you call the police, oh, I'm sorry, that's a simple assault. We can't do that. This happened on Neptune Avenue, where I was. The city needs to make money. On another topic, the city needs to make money. Stop being a leech. You got a lot of properties that are doing nothing. You have material, you have cars that use gas or diesel. There's a simple thing called DIY to make a simple hydrogen generator which will burn. Very simple. You can even heat your house with this generator. Now, it's really something. Americans think they live in a great country with great freedoms. Well, I hate to make you become aware, because becoming aware makes you more dangerous. But in the Constitution, it says you have privileges and immunities. Yet, you really actually have, from the Declaration of Independence, your inalienable rights from God. So how did it go from God's right to man's privileges? Because we were told that was done to prevent us from being actual sovereigns. I am no longer an American citizen. I went to the State Department and had my citizenship removed, which makes me an American national. And the only time I'm supposed to be in court when it's criminal. We follow common law. In statute court and municipalities, they follow codes and statutes. Now, I just happened to get a nice 7 tickets in front of my house for putting out garbage. And the irony of this whole thing about this trash is I received 7 tickets on November the 27th, and on the 28th, the trash was removed. Now, if my property was so grievous, it should have stayed there. Remember, the city has power to impound property, whether it be a house, a person, or a car. The real thing is that I'm going to the court tomorrow, and this program of being burnt and overzealousness. You want to make money? Think about it. Government is here to serve, do its duty, not do its duty on the people. And too often, we do get the duty, and we don't need the duty. We need you to do your due diligence. Thank you very much.
Good night. Council members, let's allude to petitions and communications. Items. Could I ask you to kindly come up? Let me get you on the table. Let's see how I can make sure. Dan says when I zoom in, it doesn't work well. But let's try, Norma.
Michael.
Please, I've got the camera on you.
Council President, if I may, just for purposes of clarification,
Sure.
It's more about procedure, I suppose, than anything else, and I'll start by...
And use the microphone. Can't hear you.
I'll start by basically addressing you the way that you address the legal department, at least, by saying don't take this the wrong way.
Sure.
And I'm not aware on how previous administrations conducted procedure here at the meetings, but I just wanted to advise, and I think we spoke about this at a previous meeting as to legal sitting at this table. We are here, and I say this in governance because I work with the whole council, and the attorneys that I supervise do so also. We are not here at the meeting to respond, one, to the public's questions. It would be inappropriate. They comment and they engage with the council, but we are not advocates. We're not legislators. We are here simply to answer legal questions that the council may have, and procedural questions. Although we're scriveners, we write ordinances and resolutions at the request of council and the department heads. It is not our policy, our procedure, or our legislation. So we're not in a position, nor should we be, to answer factual questions. That may have been the past practice. I think it's inappropriate. We're not here on a factual basis. We're here for legal questions that may arise and procedural questions. And the audience needs to understand that, but it also respectfully applies to the council. We cannot make have factual answers to something that Health and Human Services may have, any type of ordinance or resolution. I hope I'm being clear as to what the difference is between the substantive factual issues that may arise for the council in these meetings and the procedure and the legal basis. And I just wanted to clarify that, because you left this room with the impression that somehow the legal department, at least, was not providing you with something that we are legally bound to do so, and I think that that's incorrect. And I wanted it to be clear that we are not here to answer factual questions on any of the legislation. Respectfully.
Respectfully understood. So your position is very clear, and so it wasn't necessarily so clear to me. As you said, your predecessors, including the former business administrator as well as the former corporation counsels and others, would answer questions as it pertained to the council and questions directed to the council, because every member who comes up and asks questions is directing their questions to the city council, as is required by law, as our municipal code and the rules of order so stipulate on that. And so you've made it very clear, which is understood, that this is not going to be your role, and maybe it's not the role of the business administrator either going forward. And so that
Council President,
allow me to finish my remarks. And so with that in mind, when it pertains to any item that comes before this council that is presented by the administration, in fact, it should be the administration's policy or procedure or process, however you want to say, going forward, to make sure that you have the appropriate staff to respond to questions that are directed to the council, that the council is required to vote on by law. It should be the administration's position to have the appropriate staff, whether it's you or someone else, to respond and answer those questions. And under the circumstances, that if that person isn't available to do that, then you shouldn't necessarily expect the city council to be able to respond to those answers that we may not have already covered in a city council caucus, or that we may not have contemplated in previous discussions around that. And if that's the case, then you shouldn't necessarily expect the council to be able to answer those questions, nor should we be able to be expected to vote affirmatively or negatively on that particular resolution or ordinance if it's presented to the council and we don't have an answer to be able to respond to questions that may be posed to us by the general public. And so it should come as no surprise then that there may be opposition to an item or a desire to see it deferred or tabled to a future until the question is answered. That's all.
And if I may respond, Council President, I understand, but I have not spoken on behalf of the Business Administrator's Office or any other department. I responded on behalf of the Law Department, and I just want to be clear about that the Law Department does not have legislation. We draft, we review for legal content, but it is not factually, substantively ours, so we're not in a position to do that. I don't want this to become a battle or there be any misunderstanding that I am speaking on behalf of the Law Department and no one else.
I understand your position very well, and as I've stated already, that wasn't what the precedent was previously. And so if that's changed, and apparently it has, it's clear, then under the circumstances, I'll just say again that the business administrator, the onus falls upon you to make sure that you have appropriate staffing here to answer those questions. And look, I can't speak for the entire council on this, but if certain questions are posed by the public that we don't have the ability to answer, or we didn't contemplate it in caucus, then we will look to table things or defer them to a future meeting until we get the answers.
Rolando, we brought it up before. This council should have their own lawyer, just like the planning board does and the zoning board. We should have our own lawyer. That's not, that has nothing to do with the administration.
And add to what the council president say, if first reading we understand because we have the caucus, we actually ask so much. But second reading, before we take a vote, if any bring up the issue by general public, and we believe that that's important, and that somebody will answer, then we're going to make sure every second reading, any department related audience, they all show up here. Period. If they not show up, we're going to ask them withdraw, we're going to postpone, we're going to table it. Whatever we can do in this house, we will do it.
I'm going to get everybody a copy of the Faulkner Act so you can read it, and then we can have a discussion at maybe one of the next caucuses.
I just want some clarification here. So, are the caucus meetings not sufficient? Is that why you think that we're not answering the questions? I understand that there are times when questions come up and I'm just confusing why we're having this on the record discussion right now about.
That's not the concern that was raised. Just there was a question from the public, and the council wasn't prepared to answer that, and apparently nobody else was either. And the people who needed to answer it possibly weren't here. And Mr. Harrington, as Councilman Yun pointed out, answered the question at the time. In fairness to Councilman Yun, it doesn't represent the city's position. He represents his private interests and his clients, which is a fair point and assessment to make. And so, with regard to kind of the questions that were posed, someone from the city should be able to respond to that. Otherwise, the council either just has to assume, we can't take it at word that Mr. Harrington is looking out for our best interests as council members in representing the public on that. We should have somebody who's looking out for the public's best interest on these matters.
Because he, as a representative, as a private company, private interested, then we going to take a vote based on public interest, a big difference. So then somebody have the city side have to be answered to us. You know, I mean, it's very clear.
It was
because we try to want to be fair. You know what I'm saying? So nothing wrong with that. The council asks fairness and transparency. So what's wrong with that?
Understood.
But listen, long story make short, I think we as almost council people has the same pace. Second reading, every department who is ordinance in the agenda, second reading, they should all sit down till end of the meeting. So answer the public question, because we have by first reading at the caucus meeting, we got so much information. Something, we're not the perfect, we're not the God, something we missed that part of it, and the public bring up the issue and concern, they show up to city council, they speak up, then somebody will answer something we don't know. We cannot just, we don't know, but we're going to vote for yes, we're going to vote for no. Is that fair to people?
Yeah, that's
fair. And also,
fair.
and we're clear, law department write on the ordinance, but you not just write on the ordinance. Without understanding, you just write on ordinance. I think there's something wrong here. We all stick to that.
I'm going to stop you right now. We would appreciate, as we've discussed in the past, that we maintain a certain sense of decorum. And I think that some of the comments have been made. Maybe it wasn't that the intention of those making it, but I think we're feeling, and I'm not speaking for everybody, I think we're feeling a little offended by what's being said here. And I just want to make it clear that we are doing everything that we can to provide all the information for the council, and anything you need, we are doing our best to provide it. And we are going to consider this.
Fair enough.
And that's where we're going to leave it.
What I'm saying here is that
you don't have to repeat it. We're fine. We can move on. That's fine.
That provision of information is not adequate as it pertains to second reading ordinances. And I will say, in fairness to you and to directors and everyone else around that, you know, there are going to be resolutions where similar questions will come from the public, and there have been, and it would be unfair to call for every department director and division director to come forward for every resolution. There's 50 to 100 that come up, and so in fairness to them, perhaps for particularly for resolutions, if there's a specific resolution, council members, that you want to see someone there in case a question should come up that you didn't anticipate, and you think, for example, and I'm just putting that out there, I intend to vote for it and support it, but on the Express Scripts. It's a $30 million price tag on it. Like, probably good to have the HR director here in case something should come up. Hypothetically, I'm just saying, hypothetically. I didn't think about it, but, if something should come up in the course of the conversation, probably a good idea to have him here on the final vote for that, so that we don't delay that in any way.
I would suggest if we're going to have a lot of city staff here, in the interest of them and their lives, that we maybe move to some daytime meetings then, just so they can be here in the course of their day.
Solomon,
No,
made
we
a suggestion yesterday. We should
for the caucus meetings, yes.
caucuses.
But for council meetings, that's not.
Especially second.
Daytime caucuses.
Yeah. Okay. Look, we can talk about this off. I don't have to do it here.
Let's go back to the way it was when I first got appointed.
That too, frankly.
That all works for me.
Just I drafted, that's it. I don't know nothing more than
Petitions
that.
and communications, 6A through 6E4. Officers' communications, 7A through H. Reports of directors, 8A through E. Where to the claims and addendum number 1, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzary.
Aye.
Fagiano.
Aye.
Yun.
Aye.
Solomon.
Aye.
Robinson. Waterman.
Aye.
Lavara.
Aye.
Claims and addendum number 1 approved unanimously 8-0. 10A through N. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzari.
Aye.
Fagiano.
Aye.
Yun.
Aye.
What are we doing?
Solomon.
Aye.
Robinson. Waterman.
Aye.
President.
Aye.
A to N, 8-0. O through Z, knowing, understanding that P has been withdrawn.
Can I just comment on this quickly? So there's a discrepancy possibly with the term when this would start. We're trying to get clarification from the state and Division of Local Government Services on when Constance's term should start. There's just a little bit of confusion around that. So I know we've had a lot of discussion on this, and it's been waiting a little while, and I hate to do this, but we need to just get this clarification before we put this through.
Which one is it?
10P.
10P. So O through Z1, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzari.
Aye.
Fagiano.
No on V, we don't need a traffic study, we just need a police department that knows what they're doing.
Aye on the rest.
Yes.
Yun.
Aye.
Solomon.
Aye. On 10X, I will follow up with Rec Department and improve this now, but would love to make sure we have as healthy food options as possible in our summer program.
Councilperson Robinson. Aye. Waterman. President.
Just a couple of things. I rushed through that first vote, so I just want to say for the record, on the budget itself, as we accept the budget and we begin this process of looking at the budget, as was mentioned earlier with regard to our school funding crisis, we'll scrutinize this budget very closely, and there's clearly a need to allocate, as some of the speakers said earlier, allocate additional funding, and we've got a school funding crisis on our hands. So I think somebody said there we need to engage and get off the sidelines on this, and I couldn't agree more. And I'll look to, as I said earlier, introduce a resolution after examining this budget a little more closely with regard to allocating some of those settlement dollars and ensuring that we adequately fund our schools with those dollars as well. In addition, on 10T, I just want to say that I'm happy to see that the Jersey City Reservoir, assuming this grant is authorized, that it will finally receive the attention it deserves and the funding it needs. Congratulations, Councilman Yun and Bogiano. And I just want to say, Councilman Yun, as we've talked in the past about these things, and I guess we'll a little honey gets the bees. So congratulations on that, and we'll vote aye on all of them.
Okay.
And the reservoir, yeah.
10-0 through Z1, P withdrawn, 10V, 7-1, Bajano, no. Z2 through Z10.
Can I ask a question, Robert, first?
Sure.
On 10Z8 for Brian. I saw in the email you sent, thank you for the follow-up, that the maintenance contract only covers the SNAP court services.
Yep.
What maintenance do we have for the other courts, and just want to try to understand?
You know, actually, I'm actually waiting for confirmation on that too, but I'll share it to the council via email as to exactly the maintenance plan for all the other courts. I'm not totally sure.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great, just to make sure that we have a plan for all of them. Thanks.
Can we, before we cast that vote, I'm sorry, I wasn't on top of my email, so 10Z7, I sent out an email earlier today about...
Yes. So the vendor that you noted in your email had not previously been registered for Soraya's, the diversity inclusion list, so that vendor was not on the list to even know about it anyway. So and there's no guarantee that vendor would or would not be interested. So it's up to the council. If you want this to wait, it doesn't seem like you do, we can wait, but we can also just consider that vendor and others for the next round. I will also reiterate from the email that I sent that we are expanding the policy on what contracts have to go through diversity inclusion. So the previous rule was essentially they only see RFPs. We're making it so essentially everything over $6,000, which is any public solicitation, would get a review from diversity inclusion to make sure that we are seeking out those local vendors and those MWBE vendors as well.
And just for the record, I actually iterated that point on February 14th, as I said in my response in my email around that I'm glad to see that that's going to be a policy, but I still want to convene a group and a committee to look at effectuating this into law, and in fact extending it beyond so that there are no limits and that we look at all contracts ultimately and all procurement requisitions to ensure that it all runs through diversity and inclusion. So we can call for the vote.
Okay, 10Z2 to 10Z10, Councilperson Ridley.
With regards to 10Z7, I share some of the same concerns that we discussed in caucus and making sure that we're doing an adequate job of checking with diversity and inclusion and local vendors in general. But I believe we did discuss that we need to have the fields ready in time for baseball season, so we do not want to delay our kids. So with that, I vote aye for all.
Councilperson Prinzeri.
10Z7, I share the same concerns, and I think that there's more that we can be doing with working with our Office of Diversity and Inclusion and getting local residents who have businesses the information they need to get on the state contractor list. But as Councilman Rivera pointed out, we do need these things seated for baseball season, so we do need to move on that for now. So with that, I vote aye for all.
Councilperson Bajano.
Aye on all.
Councilperson Yun.
Yes, I'm going to vote for aye, but ZA. So they want to talk about the basketball courts, but I bring up the tennis court. The basketball court, they have a yearly maintenance plan. We pay $36,900. But tennis court, ignoring almost 20 years, at least once 20 years, to some painting job to require, please, okay? Thank you very much. Other than that, I'm going to vote for aye, all.
You voting aye and all?
No, I vote for aye for all.
Aye for all.
All.
I said you're voting aye on all.
Yes.
Thank you.
But
Councilperson Solomon.
Ron? ZA. Yep.
Councilperson Solomon.
I'm going to vote no on Z9. Just would like more information before spending nearly $100,000 on computer monitors may be necessary, but would like to have more, frankly, just like a memo that's written that says, clearly stating how many are needed, why the current equipment is hindering performance, and just have more detail. And I'll vote aye on all the rest.
You're voting firm on all.
No on Z9.
I didn't hear that. Thank you. Councilperson Robinson.
Aye.
Waterman.
Aye.
President.
Yeah, just with regard to Z7, I've already spoken on that, but I will vote yes, as I said in my email, that no one's looking to hold up baseball in Jersey City, and it's opening day. Did someone say it was opening day today?
Next week.
Next week, okay. So MLB, Major League Baseball, opening day next week, so no one's looking to hold it up for our youth here in Jersey City, so we'll move that forward, but definitely would like to see that folks move with a greater urgency on that, and I'm glad to hear that we are at this point. So I vote aye.
Even though we say yes.
10 Z2 to 10, Z10, 8-0, accepting Z9, 7-1, vote by Councilman Solomon. C11 through 18, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Prinzari.
Aye.
Bajano.
No on C17. One of the reasons we have so much traffic is the light system is so screwed up since we did away with our in-house people. Yes on the rest.
Councilman Yun.
I'm going to vote for aye, Z18, that, what are they called, the lunch program for the senior, and they have some concern about the quality of the food. So I'd like the kids to look into their matters, with the summer food program. Kids, 007, yes, please. I vote for aye for all.
On all. On all. Because he mentioned Z18, okay. Councilperson Solomon.
Just briefly scanning the audit on Z11, it looks like that's a great cost savings for the city, so thanks for doing that and pushing that forward. And I will vote aye on all the rest. On Z16, though, I will do more research on Jersey City's civil forfeiture policy and how it connects with the county, and try to bring that back to everyone in the next month or two, so we have a little more data.
Councilperson Robinson.
Aye.
Waterman.
Aye.
President.
Aye.
The balance of business. Z19 through Z28. Councilperson Ridley.
22 is withdrawn, correct?
22 is not withdrawn. That was just the administrative error.
I'm sorry. I don't know that.
Yeah, it's miscommunication. Don't worry about it.
So Z22 is a withdrawal?
No, it's not withdrawn. It's staying on.
Z23 is in contention. It's up for a vote. It is not Z22. I mean, it's not withdrawn. It's being voted on.
All right, I'm going to abstain on Z23 and aye for all the rest.
Abstention on Z23. Councilperson Prinzari.
Aye.
How about Z23?
Bajano.
What?
Z23.
Bajano.
Hold on a second, Robert. C23, I just want to... All right, look,
Lieutenant.
C25 and 26, no.
You said, what about Z23?
23.
What about it, Michael? What do you want?
Wait, Councilman, I can't hear the councilman voting with you talking to him. Councilman Bajano, can you repeat your vote?
Say no on that?
No.
Oh.
Councilman Bajano, can you repeat?
Yeah, I'm just saying no on 25 and 26.
Z25, Z26. The balance, you're voting in the affirmative. Councilman Yun.
I vote for aye.
Solomon.
I'm going to vote no on Z25 and then aye on all the rest.
That's going to be for next month.
Councilperson Robinson. Waterman. President.
Brian, just for the record, you said that 25, and that the board was requesting this?
The library board has requested this. Yes.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, the last, just two things. Z20 on the Express Scripts, just want to make sure we do those satisfaction surveys, make a commitment to do that, to do the satisfaction surveys and to monitor employee and retiree satisfaction with the Express Scripts. And then just one other thing I overlooked on Z1, which we already voted on, but I do want to, just for the record, note that I'm going to look at the RFP on this as it goes out. And my concern also here with Z1 is just ensuring that RFP includes adequate, whoever the consultant is that we bring in on this, that there's adequate public outreach on this to all communities, and it's not just kind of a social media campaign or online campaign that we get into the as folks talked about. If I can, as folks talked about who came up and the woman who spoke earlier about the number 4 bus, we need to get into the neighborhoods and communities, particularly again in Ward F and the South Side, and to understand what the folks' needs are as far as bus transit service goes. I vote aye on all.
Allow me to recap. Z23, 701, abstention by Councilperson Ridley. Z25 is 6-2, voting no, Council members Bagiano and Solomon. Z26, 7-1, vote no, no vote by Councilperson Bagiano. Would someone kindly sing the sweet song at 9:15?
Motion.
Councilperson Prinzary, seconded by Councilperson Robinson. By all in attendance, say good night. Good night. Thank you. Councilman Rivera absent this evening.